This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone. Look at the weather. It's not perfect, but there definitely is blue sky, which is ideal and perfect for the sunset safari. Now, I do have something to tell you, but I must say good afternoon first. The timing. Really, you gotta love it. My name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera, and we just had a little incident in camp there. There was a leopard in camp. Tristan literally walked into a leopard as he was about to jump on the vehicle. So he's away on his own little leopard mission, and I'm not sure what our mission is going to be this afternoon. I think we're going to admire the clouds for just a little bit, and then possibly head south, check that area, and then maybe a little bit later check up on the lions if they're still around. There's lots of lion activity. May even say hello to Darkmane. And then Missy's like, oh, okay, the itinerary's really building up. Anyway, this is a live safari, and of course it's interactive. So we really want you to talk to us. We need you to talk to us. It's a long time out here in the wild. You can send in your questions, your comments, and your jokes using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Or you can use @FC on the YouTube chat, or you can head over to the WildEarth website. And as long as you've registered, you can submit your questions there. Kids, if you're watching, you absolutely must send in your questions. You just send them in a different way, and the email address is kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Tell us your name, your age, and your favourite animal. I've seen never say the favourite animal, but I want to know your favourite animal. That's the first question I ask many people. Isn't it just gorgeous? Cotton wool clouds. I'm talking of the clouds. Let's take a look at the weather.
It is overcast, but it feels like a lighter overcast than it has been the last few days. We're busy trying to see if I can relocate on this leopard. I'd forgotten something in my room after we had done our check, so I walked down to where I'm staying and kind of walked inside, then walked out and walked straight into what I think it's Shasha. I'm not sure. It might be Colombo. I didn't get a good look. I just saw leopard spots fleeing from my feet, basically, and bushbuck going absolutely buck wild all over the place. They all had a tough time with it. But we'll get into that just now. My name is Tristan, as you've just seen. I'm on camera for Impor. And what we're doing at the moment is just trying to check if we can't find this leopard. It's a very difficult spot that it's gone. It went from those rooms down into the drainage line, and once they get into the drainage, there's so many places they can hide. This has always been a firm favorite of a number of leopards, so the likes of Tingana, Hosanna, Tlalamba, Tandi, they all used to use this, and this little drainage section, there's lots of little banks that are tight, so they do these like little curves, and they lie in those curves, and you can't get to them or see them unless you walk in there, which I don't want to do now because I've already walked into it once. So if it's not Shasha, who it could be one of the others that might be a little bit less forgiving on me walking around. So just try to see if we can find with the vehicle. Given where Shasha was this morning and where he was seen and where we were looking for him, this would make the most sense that it's him. It's a pretty straight line from where he was walking this morning to where we are now. So let's see, maybe we get it right. He could have also just gone from once I walked away, he could have come out and is walking straight along the fence of the camp towards the Gari Dam. So those of you that watch the dam cam, please just keep an eye out, particularly coming from the Vuyatela side. He might make an appearance there. But where I saw him is here in front. So you can see our rooms just through here on the right hand side. So that's the room I'm actually in, is that one that you can see there. And he was just to the right of that room, he or she, on the little bank there, and then ran down into this thicket on the right. And you can see it's not exactly an easy place to negotiate. I was hoping I'd come around and he'd be out at the pan. And I felt bad because I think he was stalking those bushbuck in Ngala and he messed it up because he moved because of me, which, it wasn't like I intentionally did it, but... Alright, I'm just going to scratch around here and see if I can find anything. Hopefully we'll pick him up somewhere here. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to JP to say good afternoon.
Welcome on Bushwalk. We're already about and looking at a number of different tracks of animals that has moved through this area. There's some hyena tracks, there's also some impala tracks, and then we've located on some warthog tracks right over here. So my name is JP Leroux, and behind the camera we've got BK. A little bit more about the track that you see over here. It's fairly round in the back and the front. And here we see two little false hooves at the opposite side, which has been left in the print of a track as the soil was quite soft. What we also see is that there's a third part of a foot that's sticking out over here, which was actually where it stepped on top of the other footprint, creating the impression that it's 3 toes. And quite often guides mistake this for that of an aardvark, which generally leaves 3 toes in soft soil. And sometimes you'll see the 4th and the 5th toe as well marking with the aardvark track. But to come back to warthog, we used to classify these tracks as even-toed ungulates tracks, and then the group of even-toed ungulates, which all fell into a group of which was known as the Artiodactyla, got split into 3 distinct groups. We find that the antelopes, the buffalo, as well as giraffe got split off into a new order, which became known as Ruminantia because all of them are ruminants. And then the remainder of them, the pigs, got split into their own new order, which became known as the Suaviformes. And lastly, the one that always amazes me is that hippos got split off into a new group, and that group was with whales and dolphins, which is its closest relatives. And that's based on the fact that they actually have 3 stomach chambers, unlike ruminants that has got 4 stomach chambers, which was some of the defining characteristics that they used in classifying them. However, the majority of Earth's classification is based on DNA.
We're also on a prominent road trying to look for any tracks, really, or signs of any animal movement. Now that the ground has dried up a little bit, it's slightly easier. When the terrain is wet, as many of you know, it's really, really tough to track. Unless you're a hyena, they love to walk heavy with their claws as well. You'll always spot hyena tracks, no matter the terrain. But the cats, for example, they're very difficult. They walk slow, lightly. Their feet are obviously designed for that. My foot just slipped off the pedal. But we're just going to stop at this junction. This junction used to be very important for tracks. It's not been so active anymore. Davy can give you a gorgeous view of the Balanites tree. And I'm going to look at the ground and see if I can spot signs of anyone moving, either north, south, east or west. That's the joy of a four-way stop. Isn't it beautiful? One of my favourite trees on the reserve.
Well, still no luck. I've kind of trolled along the edge of this drainage line. Can't see any sign of him or her. Feels like we're getting an absolute hiding from the leopards this morning and this afternoon. It's fine. We'll just persevere a little bit. It's early days still. I'm sure it will come out at some point. I was hoping I was going to come here and you'd be on the mound here. Often when Hosana or Tingana used to be around here, they'd go up on the mound and just sit up there and just watch what was going on. But you can see why it's difficult in here. I mean, when I come into this little spot here to come and check, there really is very limited visual of the area. So I just want to stop here for 2 seconds, just have a little scan with some binos. Sometimes you'll be surprised what you can spot with binoculars when you look around through these thickets. At the end of the day, this leopard is there to hide, so... Michael, I mean, it would be a cool way if it was her that we'd find her. But yeah, I honestly don't know. It was too fleeting to even notice who or what, male or female. It was literally just a blur of spots and a little white tail disappearing into the thickets. And then, like I say, just a whole bunch of bushbuck running in my direction. But I don't see anything. It would be cool if she was here. Michelle, who's the general manager at Djuma, he says he's been hearing lots of alarm calls in this drainage the last few days. So, I don't know, maybe there's a kill in here. That's also possible. If it's Shasha, then it can't be, it wouldn't be a kill because he wouldn't have, come from as far as he did this morning. But if it's another leopard, it's possible that they've been on a kill for the last couple of days and we just don't know about it. And by the looks of things, even if there was a kill here, the chances of us getting anywhere near it is a whole nother story altogether. I'm just trying to listen if there's any go-away birds or anything. The nice thing with this drainage line is lots of squirrels, lots of go-away birds, so you can generally pick up kind of a rough pattern of where something is. You hear the bushbuck? Behind us. This leopard is crossed behind us. Hold on, Paul. Because these bushbuck don't alarm call for long. And I know where I saw one, so just... somewhere here. Where did I see it? I saw it here somewhere. There's the Ngala. Maybe it was a Ngala. Abby, so you hope it's Columba, you're a bit worried about her. I think you and lots of others are a little nervy about her at the moment. See, there's the Ngala there, and it's looking all very unhappy with life. Let's check. I'm sure that's what was just barking now. Yeah, it's a little bit worrying that she's not been seen that much, but if she's got cubs, it will explain a lot. You know, if we see her and she's got suckle marks, that's going to make all the sense in the world. Just trying to get to her before she goes into this, or him, before they go into this drainage line at the moment. Where are you? Maybe it's Mulawati. Could even be him, and that's why we're just chasing tail here. Alright, let me see what I can find here. I'm hoping that I'll bump into this cat somewhere along this area.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. If you would like to learn to become a guide and learn all the different aspects of guiding, please feel free to make use of a promotional discount that we are offering at the moment. So one of the aspects that we often do train guides on is tracking. And over here, we actually looked at our warthog's tracks that came all the way down to this little pan where he came to drink. Unfortunately, the water has already dried up over here. I also find it particularly interesting how these little pans form. And when at some point this area was saturated, an elephant have come through here and stepped into the wet area and the mud and created a small little hole. Eventually, over a period of time, warthogs have repeatedly visited this area and removed a large amount of the mud until the area became big enough to accommodate other wallowing species such as buffalo, rhino, and eventually elephants. That's not where it actually ends. If these pans become deep enough, in some areas they will also become home for species such as hippo and a number of other reptiles as well as insects. And we quite often find marsh terrapins as well as serrated hinged terrapins taking up home in these little seasonal pans. Some of the other species that often utilize these pans are also dragonflies, and their young as actually aquatic carnivores that will predate on a number of other aquatic species such as tadpoles and frogs underneath the water. I hope that this pan is actually going to fill up very quickly. It used to be one of the favorite drinking spots of one of the male leopards, which we often used to track in this area. And meanwhile, let's go and see if Tristan has caught up with his leopard.
We have indeed. It's a little shasha. We found him eventually. I knew it was him. He's just lying in a little thicket. Gave us a bit of a runaround, didn't he? But I'm glad that we managed to find him in the end. He's been all over the place. That little yawn might indicate that he gets up. I'm not going to move too much right now, just because one I wanted to show you is sometimes how difficult it can be to spot these guys. If he puts his head down flat, like now if he goes behind that bush, it's just disappears completely. So they're not always the easiest cats to find. And I must be honest, finding him where he's sitting right now is a bit of a bittersweet kind of moment, because this is the exact spot where we last saw Shongile. This is where Tandia and Hosana and Shongile fought, right where I'm parked right now. We were parked on the other side where Shasha is, and it's kind of a reverse role, but it's exactly this spot where they fought, like literally where I'm parked, is where they were. So it's always a bit bittersweet seeing a young male leopard, because that day Shongile was actually with Hosana here when they had that little fight. And ultimately led to the last time we saw her. Anyway, I'm glad we found him. Like I say, thought for a second there I was going mad. But it's good that we've managed to pick him up. He's such a pretty cat, this. It's definitely him, though. You can see it from a mile away. He's got his little pointy ears. I always think he's got ears like a little pixie. Like little pointy ears for a leopard compared to most. And he's got, just like his mom, very, very small, tightly compacted rosettes. They are not big rosettes like you see on Tavangumi. These are very, very tightly packed together and very, very small. It almost makes him... what have you seen, boy? I think we're in for an epic afternoon with him. He looks like he's in this playful mood that he just wants to chase things. If you look at how he's standing there, that's the stance of a leopard that is wanting to be busy. And I can't tell you how nice it is to see a leopard close to camp again. It's kind of been so long since we've been having that kind of thing, so it would be nice to have a young male leopard again around our camp. You know, we got so spoilt with Hosana, and we were trying to, at the time, remind everybody how, you know, unusual it is to have that kind of level of leopard consistency at the time. And I think now it's starting to show, and people are starting to understand just how spoilt we were at that period. So it'll be really cool if Shasha decides to kind of stick around a little bit around the camps, but with the weather and the rain and all that that's coming, I don't know if that's going to be completely possible. Yeah. Let's see where it goes. Unfortunately, there's a few areas here that are going to be a bit tricky to negotiate. Shouldn't be too bad. There's a couple little pathways that I know of that we can get ourselves through from the old Hosana days. In fact, what we're on right now is an old Tingana Hosana path, little 2-track. So I'm pretty sure we'll be able to follow him. Just want to see which way he's going to go. He should come straight across the road in front of us. I mean, look at that camouflage. Even at this distance, you know, we're not even 15 meters away. And this is how obscured he can be. Just goes to show how difficult they can sometimes be to find. Oh, and we're going to get a bit of sunshine even, Mbo. Can you imagine that? Hello, boy. He's looking well, though, isn't he? He looks healthy and full. Oh, I would love for him to stick around here a little bit. And not that, like I say, not that I'm here all the time, but it would just be really nice for all of you that watch, if he stuck around, and for any of the guides that work here. So there's joy in having young male leopards. I mean, we see it with Marips a lot. And Shasha, while we haven't seen enough of him to really get that same feel, and he certainly seems to be a little bit more serious. He seems to be a bit more on the sort of Tumba side of life, less clown-like than some of his relatives. And I say relatives because we think that Marips has got the same dad. But, you know, he definitely isn't going to be a leopard you don't want to see, you know. He's relaxed and super chilled, and to get him straight off the bat this afternoon is going to be amazing. And it was so funny because I was sitting there and I was like, I don't even know where I'm going to start with Shasha. I have no idea where to even look. But this morning when we finished drive, I said to him, Paul, I'm pretty sure he's going to head to Gallagher Pan. Maybe that's where we should start. And I was kind of thinking about it this afternoon. I was like, I don't know, it's going to be tricky, you know, to find tracks. And it just goes to show how sometimes some things work when you're feeling a little like, well, I don't really know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it. Things can kind of go your way and just present themselves. So instead of us finding him, he found us this afternoon. Well, initially, and it took a bit of work to find him after that. And like I say, a bit of sunshine too, which is nice to see. All right, well, we'll continue to spend, I'll hopefully spend the whole afternoon with him. All things kind of going well. So we'll see how it goes and whether we can keep up with him through this next little section as he heads towards Gari Dam.
Here we are. We are on an expedition. This is the expeditionary force. Behind me, we have seen Tlalamba. We are very excited.
It's day one of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition, and our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
Either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with the cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we're still with him. He's just obscured a little bit by branches. He's kind of dropping. Well, he doesn't really know where he's going at this stage. He kind of came along and it looked like he was going to come down a bank towards where we are. And then he stopped in a very dense thicket for now. I'm just wanting to see, because if he comes down this way, it's going to be tricky to follow him easily. But if he goes down the road, then obviously it's going to be a lot better. But we can see why it's difficult with him in terms of tracking. He crossed the road, then he came back over the road, and now he's looking as though he's going to go back over the road again. So, you know, when leopards do this, you have very little idea of which direction they're going to go. And so if you lose them, it becomes quite hard to find them again. Luckily, at this stage, he's just sitting stationary. I can see his ears. Can you see him, Impo?
Yeah.
Okay, good. 1 out of 5, yeah, exactly. Not great. It'll get better if he moves down. I think he's just weighing up his options at the moment as to where he wants to go and what he wants to do. It should be one of those afternoons where it's going to be kind of slow, steady walking around, and he'll figure out where he wants to go by basically his nose and his ears pulling him along. He's going to be, by the looks of it, looking for any sort of food items. If he's chasing bushbuck and nyalas and those kinds of things, it's because he's wanting to find food and is hungry. And so that should be quite nice. It should mean that we're in for a pretty good afternoon. If we get a bit of sunshine, it should heat up a little bit, might drive him to go to water. Okay, he's going the opposite way. Let's go back up again. see him on the top there walking like that. It's so weird. It's like deja vu with Hasana. All the places he used to do the same kinds of things. You can see all these little 2 tracks are from when the days when he was around and he used to walk in these areas. Almost like he's looking for little scrub hairs and things at the moment. Look at that little tail. Tail is always a good indicator of what they're thinking. I think there must be a scrub hair or bird inside there. Look at him. I think we're in for a very, very cool afternoon with this guy. He looks like he's in the mood to mess around and chase things and play, which should be a good one for us. I actually haven't seen him kill anything yet. I've seen him stalk a lot of stuff, and he got so close the other day to a steenbok and a scrub hare, and he missed both of them. So I'm hoping that he'll have a bit more luck today. Nope, we're not going to be able to go that way, so let's change direction. Let's try and keep up with him. Luckily, he's not moving too fast. This guy should make our job a whole lot easier. Venus, yeah, not so much size because he's not big yet. I mean, he is bigger than probably what a female would be at this stage, but it's just the shape of the face, the sort of stockiness of the body, and obviously he's got, you know, golden nuggets under his tail that indicate he's a male, but generally just his size of the shoulders and head is what tells you kind of male. But you know, don't be shocked when you see Tlalamba. She looks a lot like this from a long way away. If you see her kind of side on or through a thicket, she also has very big shoulders, does Tlalamba. Often catches a lot of people out. I've had a lot of guests come into sighting where we've had her and they'll be like, oh, is it a young male? And then obviously we know it's not. Why are you grumbling? Who's shouting at you? I think there's a bird that's giving a little alarm call there. You see now he's going back the way we've just come from. It's very tricky to determine where he wants to go, this young man. He was trying to get dinner in Kamsham. I think he's hungry, so looking for any available opportunity. It would have been cool if he had made a kill in front of me. That would have been pretty spectacular. I was quite interested. He wasn't completely fearful. It wasn't like he ran for his life and was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to die at the hands of this human, like sometimes leopards do. He just got to think a little bit. He was like, oh wait, hang on a second, I didn't expect you to come walking out of that room. And so he tried to move, and then obviously the bushbuck and things got him as well. Don't you love it when they lift their tails like this and curl them up? That's so cool. I love how that tail has a mind of its own when they're watching into a drainage line. They always, like, there's so much going in there through their minds. I mean, he's not empty though. You can see he's in really good condition. He's been obviously feeding quite well. Little Shasha. Alright, Simple, I'm just going to go forward a little bit so we can hopefully see his face a little bit more than just his bum, because we've been kind of doing his bottom most of this. We'll just park here so that if he wants to go down the road, we're not in his way. You'll notice that a lot of the time with him now, I'm not really trying to get in front of him too much. There's a purpose, or there's a reason for that, is that I don't want to disturb anything that he potentially could be hunting. So it's much easier to stay behind him in this situation. While it's not great always for visuals, it just means we're not going to ruin any things that are trying to move around where he is, or where he's trying to move towards. So just always try and stay kind of behind him or parallel to him. That way, if there is something ahead, we can spot it and not disrupt the process.
I'm moving out from Tswalu.
Hello, beautiful boy. Little nick in his right ear is another way you can identify him. For those of you that are not too sure on ways of picking up who Shasha is or why it's Shasha. So the small rosettes is one thing, the little nick in the right ear. And then he's got these little pointy ears as well in comparison to all the other leopards. He's got quite a distinctive look, does little Shasha. A very pink nose, like his mom. Hello, boy. So that's why we didn't park on the road, so that we could let him go down. Are you going to sit on the road right there? And boy, we're going to try just do something here quickly, because I think it will be really nice if we can get round. Sorry, my boy. I know you're going to pick us up. It'll just be quite special if we can just get a little lower than him. It's a bit undulating through here, so I'm not sure I can actually manage this, but I'm going to try. Careful there, okay? Boy, are you worried about this? Don't stress. As long as we're pointing straight, we're all okay. Sometimes when you go down these little slopes, they feel a lot worse than they actually are. Try to squeeze through here. I think I've taken him into places that he's not quite ever been before with this car. He says to me, "Trista, are you sure?" I was like, "No, I'm sure. We'll be alright." These cars, these little 90s, because of how short they are, they can go pretty much everywhere. If you just are willing to take a certain way down, then you'll be alright. So there's a lot of work to get around for what will be a very cool shot. Oh no, way, and then you move. That was going to be so nice. He was much lower than, we were much lower than him. It was going to be perfect to see him. Anyway. It's like he waited for us to get round, and then he was like, okay, now that you're here, I'm going to go again. Let's see, he might come back. If he comes back, then I'll just roll backwards. You can come down the road. Michael, you're right. That is not untrue. It is enjoyable to see him, but he is a potential threat in the end to Kalahari and her kind of position within this area. So, well, especially if she has cubs, that's not ideal. Although I think he's still on the young side. I think she would dominate him quite a lot. If he kind of came around, I think she would have enough power and enough presence and enough attitude to push him off. But it's, if he comes across cubs when she's not around, that's when it becomes obviously quite dangerous. But yeah, let's see. We don't even know where Kalahari is hanging out even, and what if she has cubs or anything like that at this stage. So we'll see how it goes. All right, well, we'll keep with him. Like I say, hopefully we'll have an adventurous afternoon with young Shasha.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We just took a small little break here at one of the little dams, and we're just watching some birds as well as animals coming in for a drink. So we'll just do a quick silence segment and allow you to listen to the sounds of nature.
We've made it. Not only have we made it, we've also managed to get signal. Thank goodness for that. And she's here. Good old Mrs. Wick. Doesn't really bat an eyelid when we drive up. I mean, she sort of opens one eye, has a little look, but there's absolutely no reaction. Snoozing heavily, spending a lot of our energy looking after our babies, naturally. And for those of you that are maybe just jumping on board, there are 2 eggs there. You've seen them. That's how I know, in case you wonder how I know. And we just make daily visits to her. Not that I'm expecting chicks right now, but it's nice to come and see her and just check on her. And she's adorable after all. And really, what is incubation, actually? What does that mean? When you say she's incubating, what does that mean? It just essentially means that it's a process of keeping something, and in this case, eggs, at the right temperature, so that, and the right conditions, I guess, so that it can develop. So it's a word you use when birds are incubating their eggs, but it can be used across the board. It isn't just a term that you use for birds, but that's really what incubation means. You can also talk about it in terms of microbiology, I guess. It's a period of time between infection and the appearance of symptoms, the incubation period. But in this situation, Mama Wig is trying to keep the conditions just right and the perfect temperature. And she's doing an awesome job, that much we know. I remember it wasn't easy for us to see Olivia, her last chick that we followed. She really kept her tight under the wing. It was only really when Olivia started moving or Mom needed to stretch that we got glimpses. It wasn't easy. Penelope, 100%. It would be so wonderful if we could follow 2 chicks, because I guess I've never seen that. When we found Seb and I back in the day, it was just a chick. It was just one. And naturally with Olivia, it was just one. But I do believe there were more eggs. They just didn't make it. I think Steve found them having rolled down the embankment, as far as I can remember. So it would be so lovely if we had more than one. It would be a new experience for me too. It'd be nice to see how Mama Wig handles double trouble. There's a large possibility they may both hatch and be raised to success. There's also a chance they might not. I haven't seen Papa Wig in a while. I don't know where he's hiding. And that's exactly what he's doing, hiding. He's not the biggest fan of being on camera. And she's just too perfect. And she really is sleeping. Daytime is for sleeping. I have seen photos on the internet, though, the good old internet, where 6 chicks have made it to success, which is incredible. 6? That's a lot. It's possible, but in this case, there's only 2. So we're going to bumble on from Mrs. Wig now. I just wanted to say hi, and we're going to send you guys back over to Tristan.
Oh, while Lauren bumbles on, little Shasha has decided he's going to come sit right next to us and be friends, which is wonderful. I felt bad when we came around the corner and he got up and moved, and then he ended up promptly sitting right next to us, even closer than what we were. So, I don't know. He's a funny cat sometimes. As all leopards, they have their little quirks about them. I know it's not the greatest view right now, and it's not 1,000,000 out of 5, but it's cool in its own right because he's sitting literally right next to us, and he's super chilled, and there's just this quiet kind of moment that we've been having. And Paul and I have been sitting pretty much in the quiet and just enjoying the sounds of the hornbill calling in the background and the odd sunbird that's been calling, and then little Shasha just sitting next to us and peering about the place. He's traveling far and wide, this boy, though, at the moment. He really is trying to find a place for himself. And it must be hard we've got so many male leopards here that it's not easy for a youngster like this. And on top of that, we've also got a lot of big females that will be quite aggressive towards him, which is something that he won't know. He's used to a life of a female leopard being nice to him. And I'm sure if he's bumped into his mom has been pretty aggressive. We know that Thandi and Kalamba won't take his nonsense for 1 second and will push him away, even if he's not trying to be ugly to them. So that's difficult. And then you've got a thing where there's so many other male leopards in the area that he's kind of playing this chess game with them. He's got to dodge Semba, he's got to dodge Mulawati to a degree. I mean, Mulawati theoretically should be his father and should be accepting of him. And there shouldn't be any issues there, but he is getting older and bigger, which means that relationship starts to change. He's got this Timbavati male up in the north, there's Inhlangula, there's this Jigga male, there's Tortoise Pan, Hosana a little further afield from that, and then south there's the Accipiter male, there's Maxims, there's all these Mawelawela, there's all these other male leopards that are around. It just makes life for him quite tricky. So where he's going to settle and how he's going to settle remains to be seen. And while he might spend the next 4, 5, 6 months here, as we saw with Hosana, Tamba, and many of the other male leopards from this area, Torchwood, they all kind of hang around for a while, and eventually the pressure just gets too much, and the drive to go and mate and those kinds of things takes its toll, and they start to move further afield until they find a territory. And while we wish that he would stay, and that Marips and Semba and they would be around and we'd keep them in the area, the reality is for the species, it's better that they don't stay. It's better that they're not mating with their same genetic. So moving further afield is the right thing, but it's just hope that wherever they go, they end up in places where there's still an ability to follow them and see them and follow their life, because you invest so much energy into them when they're young like this. For them to just move away and get out and not be part of this anymore is always so difficult. And if you look at Shangwe young male, so Shangwe, a lot of you won't know him, but he's from the Singita western sector area. His mom was Kokavela, and he's now distributed into Kruger National Park, so they're seeing him around Skukuza area, which is a long way from home. And yeah, so one of these could easily do the exact same. I mean, we look at Quarantine and Induna, Mishu, Shavambalana, they all ended up going deeper into Kruger and away from the area that we're in. So that could happen for him. It could mean he goes into Manileti. He could even end up in Timbavati, Thorny Bush. You look at Hukamuri and how far he went. Some of these boys can travel long distances in order to find a spot. Are you going to eat the stick? No, we're going to just smell the stick. Cute, man. So he does have little facial glands that they sometimes rub on sticks, but he's actually eating the stick. Sat in a bit of an awkward spot at Shasha. His little stick is right by his eyes and his nose. So yeah, I mean, I think time with him and where he's going to end up is always debatable. He could tomorrow somehow push out Mulawati and stay here. These things happen. I mean, you look at White Dam and how he ended up being kind of quite a dominant force within the sphere of the Sabi landscape in his dad's territory. So these things are possible. It's just not likely. Also, it seems like I don't have any brakes anymore, which is delightful. So we will not be attempting the same descent that we just did earlier. I think Paul will kill me if I do that without brakes. Well, even if we don't have brakes proper, we have at least some semblance of control, and with low range you can always figure a way to get through and use the gears to hold you on a descent. elephants have done so much damage here. It is amazing. There used to be a road or a tree track that used to run at the bottom here, but they literally have pushed over every tree that is along this tree track to the point where we're at now, where, sorry, I'm poor, this car's going to keep going. Let me rather go down. The car's not going to hold without the brakes. It's not going to be able to hold on this down slope. But they've literally pushed over all these trees that it's near impossible to actually get through here anymore. Which sucks, because I don't know how we're going to follow him if he crosses over here. Some of you may remember this spot. If you look where he's heading, there's a big tree above him there. And that's the spot where Tingana once had a kill, up there. I think he stole it from Hosana or Tlalamba, one of the two. I can't remember who he stole it from, but he was up in that tree. And we had the crazy sighting of him eating the head and crunching the skull. And then just round the corner here is that one where Hosana was in the tree with Tingana and the hyenas jumping up. That was another one that was had in this area. All right, I'm going to try and get through here and get round to where he is before we lose him. Hopefully we'll be lucky and keep up.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
I think sometimes you need just to listen. So it's a kind of taking out all that other spirit and bring back wilderness and healthy. Bushwalk and trek and sign. I'm sure I'm good at that. I spend most of my time on the ground since I was a young boy, so I think I'm good with that. Actually, I'm not much nervous of any category. Just take it as it is. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure on what the judges are looking at. So chances are 50-50 on my side. I'm not... Obviously, when you go for a competition, you say you win.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We just located on 2 giraffes, one a bull, and I'm not quite sure what the second one is. It might potentially be a cow, as it appears much paler in color, but I can't see either the underbelly, where we can see normally the penile sheath that breaks the outline, or neither do I have a clear view on those little horn-like structures, which is referred to as ossicones, which tends to be bold on the males and like little black paintbrush-like tips on the females. At the moment, this giraffe that we are looking at is busy ruminating. So what it's basically doing, it's regurgitating the food that it ate, which was swallowed for the first time, and then it's re-chewed. And you can see how they use the teeth to grind down that food even further. It's interesting that that first stomach chamber, that's known as a rumen, almost acts like a gravity-specific chamber where all the coarse-grained materials of food will flow to the top. And that's the material that's then regurgitated and rechewed. And then it gets bypassed into the reticulum, which is the second stomach, and eventually it will go through 2 more stomach chambers, which will assist with the breaking down of the food as well as removal of moisture before the dung pellet is created. They're actually very effective in retaining water, as they need large amounts of water also to produce saliva when it comes to feeding. And that saliva is also incredibly important for a giraffe, as it is used to deflect thorns off the tongue, but also assist with setting up the breaking down of food before it actually enters the gut. Some of the other things I do find particularly interesting is the stomach of a giraffe is actually very small in comparison to that of a species such as buffalo. But what it does have is it actually has a large amount of finger-like protrusions on the inside, which creates an incredibly large surface area, which makes the giraffe way more effective at digesting food compared to a buffalo. So some of the other things that I do find particularly amazing about giraffe is how they've actually evolved, and how they've evolved specifically dealing with pressure. And some of those adaptations that they evolved to deal with incredibly high pressure, and their blood pressure is precisely double that of us as humans. As firstly, they're very tight skin around the legs, and then they also got elastic blood vessels as well as valves that can regulate the flow of blood to and from different parts of the body. I also find the neck particularly interesting, as we would expect it to actually have way more neck vertebrae than that any other mammal would have. It still has precisely 7 vertebrae in the neck. What I do also, another interesting aspect of the neck is actually how the atlas and the axis is configured, allowing the giraffe to actually tilt its head up to that angle of almost 90 degrees and then still be able to reach that little bit further with that incredibly long 45 centimeter long tongue to just strip off those little leaves off the tip of branches. And just to give you an idea, record heights of up to 5.8 meters, which allows it to outcompete a number of other herbivores and have its own niche where it can feed. And meanwhile, let's go and see what Lauren is up to.
Well, he's still here. You'll be glad to know. The smell is appalling, beyond belief. And he's not exactly flat, he's awake. He's not really doing much either. I just wanted to come and check on the situation, see where what he was up to. See the scavengers around, but really there's only 2. Oh wait, I'm scanning. At the moment, I can only see 2 vultures. And that's not a lot, really. They must be occupied with something else exciting, other than dark mane scraps. Vultures can teach you a thing or two about patience. So can Darkmane, I guess. He's just waiting until there's a tiny little bit of room left in his tummy. And then the process starts again of looking for the ladies. I wonder if the pride are still on Central. Davi's not loving the views. Yes, I guess you're right. We probably should get Darkmane's face rather than he's behind. hello. He just looks uncomfortable, that's for sure. Nathan, you're saying this guy is still your favourite. You know, he's become a lot of people's favourite. I wouldn't say he always was when the Evoca Coalition was around. The three of them. They used to spend time together. It was often very adorable. Dark Mena always had a soft spot for him. I'm not sure. And that is that. I'm not sure why. I always liked Dark Mena. I had some incredible sightings with him. And now he's just become this legend out here. And I mentioned this the other night, but he now gets called Dark Mena on the radio, and he never before. It used to just be Avoca Madota, or Madota and Ngala, but now it's Dark Mena. You're a bit of a celebrity over there. You're not acting like it though. Okay, we probably will try and reposition, just stay here a tad longer before we go on the move, but I believe Tristan is definitely moving.
Yeah, it's become a bit of a celebrity. I'm trying to keep up with Shasha. He's just taken a route I can't take, so I'm just trying to get around. Oh, weeping dwarf boar beans are flowering. That's cool. So I'm just trying to get around to where he will pop out in the hope that he does pop out in front of us and doesn't take a change and we lose him, because I have lost visual for now, but his general game path that he's taking should bring him through this direction. So I just want to get around to see if I can see him again. Seems like he was stalking something. I haven't seen what it was. I thought I saw a scrub hare run away just now, but you see him, Impel? Ah, there he is there. Straight across. I don't know if you can see him there through those quarries there. It's a bit of a difficult shot for Impel, but I'm sure we can make it work. Hopefully he'll come back towards our side just now. He keeps doing this there. He like walks a little bit and then he stops and looks and walks a bit, stops and looks. So Emmanuel, you're asking about Leopards Whiskers and the sense, well, it's what it has that they use it for, basically. It's an armory of senses that they have. Honestly. But yeah, basically it detects small micro movements for them. It also helps sense the environment around them. So as they're walking, if it's somewhere where they're watching a prey animal, the whisker touches something, they know they need to be careful then, that there's a piece of grass or a stick or a branch or something that's going to potentially hurt them. So they will be able to then maneuver through their environment with a lot more safety with those. It's almost like a little, what would you call it, like park distance control thing. You know, when you have those sensors on your car that tell you where you're going and when you're close to an object that you might hit, it's exactly like that. I can't even remember. Park assist, I think is what it's called these days. So that's exactly... Shasha, you're being a pain today. You keep changing direction completely. I saw him here now. I can just see this tail. Honestly. think he's just looking for food, and so what that means is that it's constantly taking him in different directions. And he himself won't know this area all that well. I mean, he's probably been through here before, but he probably doesn't know this very well. And so for him, it's tricky to know where to go and where food is and what direction to travel. He's not sticking to paths. Leopards that know areas will be path cats, so they'll move on the game paths, know exactly which way they're heading and where that's taking them to and what food is going to be where. The problem is, everybody, is that I don't think we're going to be able to follow him much further unless he back onto this bank. If he crosses to that bank, for me to cross there at the moment is very tricky. I'll have to go all the way back from where we've come, cross over, and then hope that I can find a way to find him again. There used to be a little crossing point here, but after the rains, I haven't been here in so long, since the rains of this year, the big rains of this year, that I have no idea if I'm able to still cross in this area or what happens. And you see him, Paul. Alright, I'm going to try and find him again. Hopefully he's going to emerge somewhere in front here. It's very, very dense in this area, so we'll see what we get. But we're going to have a good go at it, and hopefully, like I say, we can pick him up.
I don't think we're going to get much movement out of our, not the zebra, but our lion. For at least a little while. Maybe we'll get up. But not right now. To the rest of the pride, or in another part of the property, not too far away. So I think we might bumble that side and see if we can find them. All the birds are calling around us. Let's just sit for a moment or two and listen to all the sounds of the bush. Dark mane, I don't think is going to move in a while, so we're just going to stay here for a couple of minutes. Let you see him for a couple of minutes. And the smell is so overwhelmingly bad here. We're going to bumble and hopefully reach where we left the Talamatis this morning and see if they're still in the area. I don't imagine they'll be in the exact same spot, but you never know. Oh dear, that smell is bad, dark mane. I think we need to do better at naming our coalition members next time as well. dark mane, mohawk, or blondie. Dark clouds rolling in. I don't think they're going to amount to anything, though. Okay. I'm going to try and make my way to the Talamatis, and it looks like Tristan's caught up with Shasha.
Well, every time we get a decent view of this cat and you guys come to us, he moves away. I don't know, he's being an absolute pain today. He's been all over the place. It's difficult to know where to even go because you kind of go in that direction and the next thing you see him, he's walking completely the opposite way that he was looking. So I'm trying to kind of keep up with him. It's also not easy because of the terrain that we're in. It's horrible terrain. It's not easy to negotiate here, and this next little section that we have is really difficult. If he doesn't stay on a bank and he drops into the drainage line, that's it for us. We won't be able to keep up with him. The next point that I can kind of get through the drainage line from this spot that we're at right now is quite far from here. It's about 200 meters, and as he's been walking, it's going to be very difficult to keep up with him. So we'll see. I'm hoping he's going to lie down there. Just lie down there for us, boy. There we go. All right, let's reposition slightly. We're not going to get in front of him because we won't be able to, but we're just going to get through a little gap here. That's kind of next to him. And we'll just be able to look at his shoulders and his pretty little tail. Oh, it would be nice to be down below. There's no way of getting to that area. Look at that. Hello, boy. It is not pleasant in here. I'm trying to see where I used to go. There was an area here that I used to be able to drop down. You see, he's spotted something. I used to be able to cross this drainage line, and I can't for the life of me see where that was. I think it's around this termite mound here. Anyway, he's gone down. He's obviously seen something. You see, he's already crossed this drainage line. Oh, all right, let me try to get across here. And Paul, hold on. This is going to be a rough ride, I'm afraid. I think, if I remember correctly, the crossing point is here. But if the elephants have not closed this all up, if they've closed it up, we're going to have a problem. Alright, I'm going to try and get through here and see if I can. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Lauren, who's on the move.
Good luck, Tristy. We're heading north again, but not in a rush. I like to also search around and see where other animals are, or maybe, or signs of them at least. We thought we heard elephants this morning, but we couldn't manage to see them or see signs of them. I'd like to spend an afternoon with Ellis. It's getting a little bit chilly. I do think I'll need to put my jacket on soon. The short sleeves didn't last long. Lions are territorial. They have a territory. But when you say set, that's a tricky word because it's not entirely fixed, if that's what you mean. The boundary lines are in a constant state of flux. It's a very dynamic thing, a territory. Us humans, just because we draw territories on maps and we say this is Talamati territory, this is Nkuhuma territory, we think of it as very fixed, like a box, and it's actually not. It's very, very fluid, constantly shifting, constantly changing, maybe on the smaller scale and then maybe on a big scale, like when the Nkuhumas decided to shift down south. That was a big change, but it's constantly fluctuating. But yes, they are territorial, and They have a much bigger territory than leopards naturally. Lion prides will fit into a male lion coalition territory. So the male lion's territories are huge. And of course they mark that actively. When you say territory, what that actually means is that is actively defended by that organism, and it can be in a number of different ways. And the cats is naturally scent marking and calling, but other animals can be territorial, from limpets to various different insects. Fish can be really territorial and very aggressive. Been bitten a few times by some very surprising fish that I did not think were going to bite me because they were defending their territory. So every organism has a home range, but not every organism has a territory. The territory must be defended, and lions, of course, do have one, and they do actively defend it. But it's not set, if that makes sense. Where am I going? I should be going this way. I was too busy in a deep discussion there about territory. And territories can be as small as the size of your hand, my hand, for an insect. It's still a territory though. It's still a territory for that insect, and it's being actively defended. And then of course territories can be absolutely huge for those much bigger organisms. Anushka, I haven't heard your name in a while. How's it going over there in the UK? Still not allowed home. 2 years later. Hopefully that'll change soon. Anushka, generally speaking, not really. Not even hyenas. Sometimes, or much smaller offspring. So say an impala lamb, sometimes they will swallow the hooves because they're tiny. But on a big animal like a zebra and a buffalo, generally speaking, they're just left. And rightly so, they decompose. But they're made from very strong keratin, and layer upon layer upon layer of keratin, not just as thin as our fingernails. So it takes a long time for them to decompose. And that's a sort of perfect chew toy for cubs, like a hyena cub, or even lion cubs will chew away on a hoof. Delightful. But generally speaking, they don't eat them. And horn bosses the buffalo. I will not touch that. Horns, full stop. You'll see the hyenas carry the horn, but they're not really eating it. Hyenas will eat many things, but not those things. And talking of hyenas, I believe it was Luca this morning. Thank you, Michael. Luca. I hope I have one sighting this stint where I'm able to see many members of the clan. That's what I'm really hoping for. Okay, I'm going to get on my search for the Talamatis now, and I believe Tristan is also searching.
Well, we are trying to keep up with Shasha. I had him until right now. He just went behind this elephant. So I've just stopped at the elephant to see if I see him popping up. Maybe that's what he's been hearing, and why he was moving in this direction is because he thought something was here that he could hunt. We know sometimes the young males like to follow elephants around. I unfortunately can't negotiate where he's going anymore. I know full well that if he gets into this drainage line, the chances of us following is pretty much zero. But what I'm banking on is that maybe he saw this elephant and he's going to try and come round it either on the other side of the drainage, in which case we'll see it, or behind me here, which is a nice little game path that comes along. The last time I saw him though, he was literally heading straight towards where this Ellie is. So we're just being patient now and waiting for him to come out. A lot of you will know this that have watched for a while. You'll know where we are. This is where the Nkuhumas denned in 2016. with the little cubs, the ones that are the mothers of the cubs now. This is the drainage line where they had them. So very difficult, very undulating, horrible place to try and negotiate with the vehicle, even on foot. You know, we very seldom used to walk here because of how undulating it is and how dangerous it can be in here from walking into animals' point of view. You don't see things here because of the tight turns and steep banks. It's very easy to get yourself into trouble. And what I was thinking is that maybe this is an area that Kalahari has been looking at for possible den sites. If lions have used it, it's very possible that she could find a little spot in here, and we would never be able to get or find her here unless we follow her into this area. And even then, the chance of getting a visual on it will be quite tricky. So we'll see what happens. We'll see where he goes. Like I say, I'm hoping he's just going to pop out somewhere on the one side of this elephant. Otherwise, that will be, I'm afraid, it for Shasha. He's just in one of those areas, and I'm by myself here. There's no other vehicles with me, so keeping a leopard in a place like this by yourself is pretty much impossible. Even though Paul was laughing at me because he's saying, laughing at the fact that I know all these little crossing points on this riverbed. But even this is not crossable. That I've yet to find one, and I've walked this whole drainage, and that's how we know this property so well, is from all the bushwalks. So we learned very quickly, okay, this is a place a vehicle can go through. So whenever I used to walk these areas, I used to see, okay, if I ever have something here, I can cross in this place, or I can go this way. And then when you do follow something, you remember where that is. And it's the advantage of being in a place for a long period of time. So being on Djuma for 5 years means that, and walking this property pretty much every day for the first 3.5, 4 years of that, it meant that you kind of get to know it very, very well. And something that I always try and advocate for young guides is, if you want to know a property that you're working on, go and walk it. Try find the time to go and do it. It'll increase your ability to know where to find animals tenfold, because when you walk places, you find game paths that are used, and you find little random water points, as well as you understand the layout of the block between the roads, so you can understand when an animal goes in there, what is it going in there for, and where will it come out. And if it doesn't come out, why has it stopped inside there? So it's either a food source or there's a water source in there, and generally that's one and the same thing in the Sabi Sands. Congregation of animals is generally in places close to water. So if you know that there's water in that block, you very quickly can establish which way those animals are going. And even if you lose the tracks, it gives you a heading point to be able to figure it out. So yeah, important to walk an area that you work in. It's only going to serve you well going forward. This elephant is completely unfazed, and of course Shasha won't do anything to this elephant. It's not like the Ellie is in danger, and Shasha's not in danger either. The Ellie will probably just watch him walk past. But it could be something that he's intrigued in, and that's why at the moment we're not seeing him. He could just be on the bank here, in the thicket, just watching this Ellie feed and just doing what leopards often do, which is be curious, especially young leopards. So it wouldn't surprise me he's not far from where that elephant is. Unfortunately, though, where the Ellie is and where Shasha might be, there's no way I can access from the other side where Shasha was coming from. That's completely thick and fallen over trees and all the other things that you don't really want to try and get yourself in a tangle with. It's not the worst trade-off, though. You lose a leopard and find an elephant. I feel like both animals are pretty epic to be around. Good, so we'll just sit here and wait. I'm pretty sure if we're patient, we're going to find Shasha coming out somewhere close to us.
And I turned to Shaw and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. Either she was afraid that something had happened or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kuru, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Sean probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, two to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Uprooting a whole tree, you probably get to the upper parts of this bush. So quite often what we also find is that where the tree is lying, it will actually, a large amount of grasses will grow there quite safely from other grazers. And later on in the season, quite often these elephants will just simply come and push this tree away and then come and feed on the grasses which is underneath there. It also creates safe and protective areas for a number of small animal species such as rodents and hares to also hide from other predators. A few of the other things particularly interesting about elephants is that they are very deliberate and actually manipulating their whole environment. And what they want to create is a balance between grasses as well as between trees. Feed on these at different times of the year. So generally in summer, they feed on a far greater amount of grass, while in the winter month, when there's not a lot of palatable grasses remaining, they tend to focus quite often on leaves, twigs, and a number of other parts of the bigger trees and other plant species. What we also find is that they also directly influence the species diversity of a number of other browsers as well as grazers in the area. Where they become over-successful and they outcompete for trees, we eventually see that we lose a lot of our browsing antelope species. Well, in areas where they are not sufficient in numbers, we see that trees can actually take over, and we actually have bush encroachment taking place in those areas, and that outcompetes for grass species again, which leads to a reduction in grass-eating antelope species in that area. Also find it quite interesting that there's an area which was reproclaimed as a conservation area a few years ago, where there was a large amount of sickle bush which created unpenetrable thickets, and that was only plant species that was growing in those areas, and there was no grasses as well as other plants that these animals could feed on. Eventually these trees with molasses, which attracted the elephants in there, and it became a perfect biological control agent which reduced in terms of labor as well as the use of herbicides to kill off these plants. Eventually these trees will also be reworked as nutrients and minerals into the ecosystem when termites start feeding on them, as well as a number of wood-boring beetle species that will assist with the breaking down of it. Some of the other things that we also do find quite often on dead plants and trees is a number of different funguses which performs precisely the same function. There's a number of little birds that are fluttering around. And we'll tell you a little bit more about them later. We've also seemed to have some technical difficulties at the moment, which we'll be sorting out within a few seconds.
We've come down to one of the watering holes that I spoke of earlier, that those lions could potentially come down to have a lap of water at some stage. Excuse me. And there are a whole bunch of hippo that are starting to get a little bit more vocal and a little bit more active in this watering hole before eventually later on they'll disappear. And quite nice to see now just above them a couple of very prominent game trails that they've created to and from this watering hole. But have a look at how busy they are. A couple of them jostling in the water, sort of testing their strength. There'll be one dominant bull in this pod of hippo and then several others, but you can see now those paths that we were talking about, there were a whole lot of little grebes swimming around as well. But have a look at that view here in the far western parts of this reserve. Most spectacular afternoon. Hardly a breath of wind. There you are, he's just found one of those little grebes in question with a little wake behind it. Very busy birds those as well this afternoon. When I was here a couple of weeks ago, there were white-faced whistling ducks with I think around 12 chicks. I've seen a couple of white-faced whistling ducks on the edges of, or the fringes of this watering hole, but I haven't seen any chicks. Maybe they are on the far left-hand side. There's Odie's found the white-faced whistling ducks in question. Beautiful call that I don't know if any of you at home have heard them. Very distinct whistle that they call. I think they too are just enjoying the views here this afternoon. These hippos.
Right, so we're with Shasha. Found him again. He was just watching the elephant like I thought he might be doing. The elephant's just on my left. He's popped out in front of us here and now walking underneath the bonnet. But I'm sorry that we lost us. We had a little bit of an issue with the internet, which is sometimes what happens out in the bush. You know, life out here is never as simple as it looks. So he's sniffing around. Where were you watching the elephant? Was that fun? And now you're going to go on your way. Alright, so I'm going to try and see if we can keep getting limited and random views of him. I can't get in here, as you can see. It's just way too steep at the moment. The water's washed this out too much for me to actually follow. So what I'm going to try and do is just follow along on the bank as much as I can and hope that he comes back out of the drainage line. Is he lying down there? He is, isn't he? Oh, you little brat. Alright, let me try and see if I might actually be a way to see him from up on top. Because I don't have a lot of braking power, so I don't really want to be too much on the precipices of this drainage line. This light, though, is just next level good. This elephant got a bit of a fright when he appeared. The infant was, what is this all of a sudden on top of me here? Alrighty, and Paul, let's try again. Poor Rusty is certainly getting his work out today. Just want to get onto a game path because it's much easier to drive on the game path. How how beautiful is it to see some sunshine? I just feel like I need to just stop and meerkat in it for a little bit and just absorb it after 3 days of no sun. Sorry, I'm bored. You're going to have to suck in the tummy a little bit. We're going to try and sneak through this little gap. Difficult place to negotiate. Alrighty, so theoretically he should be just down below here somewhere. I'm hoping if he's lying down that from this angle I'll be able to just get a visual of him. There we go. Here you go, Paul. It's just there on the left. There's also used to be a spotted eagle owl nest here as well, where we are now. There's like a little ledge that they used to nest on, but I don't see them today. We just never come to it because it's so difficult to get in here that it's hard to kind of do it nicely and not disturb them. So that's why we don't really come to this nest. Plus we have the wigs, so try and leave these ones to themselves. But I'm trying to look on the banks because often with the spotted eagle owls, as we know, they camouflage so well, it's difficult to pick them up. Shasha, you've made us work today, buddy. In a good way. Sorry that we have a branch right across his face, everyone. There's not... I can maybe try go a little bit further forward, but I don't think it's going to help in any way. For now, that's just the view that we've got, and we're just going to have to enjoy it. There's no real way for me to reposition without just disrupting him completely. And I think a bad visual is better than no visual. If he continues from here, then it starts getting really tricky for the next 200 meters, and then it's okay again after that. Joshua, I'm not sure how he would react, but he should be fine because he's not territorial yet, and neither is she. I think the two of them would probably be quite submissive towards one another. They'd probably have a brief interaction. Maybe they would even spend a bit of time together and then break apart again. That sibling relationship severs pretty quickly, and they then go off on them. And we saw it with Shongile and Hosana. They started to separate, and then one day they came together, and as we were saying, that was when the fight with Thandi. It was the first time in a long time that the two of them had actually spent some time together. So every day, or every kind of day that rolls on, that separation gets bigger and bigger. But I don't think there'd be any aggression from either individual. They're both still finding their feet, so I don't think we'd have to worry too much about them trying to fight with one another or anything like that. It's typical that there's one branch in the way. It's always got to be one branch. He's yawning, which means he's going to get up again. The wind is blowing from the top here, from behind us, into the drainage. So maybe with that, he'll try and follow his nose a little bit, and that will drag him up and out the drainage line. That's what I'm hoping is going to be the case, rather than him following the drainage and keeping going. But, unfortunately, also, we're not going to be able to follow him for too much longer anyway. Besides all of this, where he goes up this drainage line, once he gets towards the fire break and the Buffelshoek boundary, we lose signal from there. It's one of the areas that we have a dead zone. So I'm not going to, even if I could, it's not going to make much of a difference. So we just have to enjoy him while we can and hope then that he eventually kind of settles somewhere nicer than this and we get him for longer. If we don't, then it's fine. We'll obviously carry on and go and see what else we can find. I think with the sun being out, I have hope that there's going to be other things lurking, and if not, we can always go to Old Purple Eye at Treehouse Dam and see how she's doing. I don't know if Lauren went there this afternoon. But there we go. Let's see which way it takes him. Looks like he's going to come out the drainage line. Good boy. It's exactly the way we need him to go. Imagine tracking this cat today, what a night this would have been. He has doubled back on himself countless times, and in thickets like this, would be near impossible. Alright, well, we're going to try to keep up with Shasha, see where he gets up to. In the meantime, JP's at a waterhole. Let's send you across to him.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're busy watching a grey heron that is busy patiently waiting for something to come in striking distance so that it can hopefully have a last meal before it goes and roosts in a tree for the rest of the evening. We're very fortunate to be able to see herons so commonly around Pridelands as well as in a number of wetlands throughout South Africa and the rest of the world. By the 1890s, herons almost became extinct in many parts of the world. And the reason? Their fancy feathers that they used to impress during courtship displays was in high demand. And these were used for hats, to adorn hats. And this was pretty much used by most ladies in cities in those times, such as New York as well as London. They reckon at one stage almost 150,000 egret feathers, 150,000 herons' feathers actually passed through London in a 9-month period. Luckily, by the late 1890s, two ladies decided that they were going to campaign against this and brought an end to the use of the grates, the feathers which is specifically used for breeding, during breeding plumage to attract a mate. And this brought back the numbers of herons very quickly. I saw a number of sad stories where the adults were basically killed. The chicks at rookeries were quite often left, and they were fed on by crows as well as a number of other predators. I'm always happy to see herons because they're, for me, such patient birds, and they, just like leopards, know that patience is what pays off when it comes to making a kill. Oh, he just got something there. Let's see what he got. And it's a tiny little fish or frog that's in his bowl at the moment. Unfortunately, I can't see from this distance what it is. Hopefully he turns and then we can have a look. Lately he's been catching quite a lot of these small little fish, which is most likely Mozambique tilapia or little catfish that he's been grabbing. And also some of the other things that he's been going through for is a number of frogs. And some of the frog species, which I've often seen him catching, as also those platanas, small little cape or clawed frogs, as what they're also known. Phew, that's quick. And there's already down the gullet. That's such beautiful light on him at the moment as well, which is would be great if we could have had a camera to take a few photos this afternoon. This is the best time of day to actually take photos. We're going to move on and go and see if we can find something else or reposition and maybe set up for a nice little sunset as the sun has now started coming out.
Sea Forest is a brand new experience on the WildEarth channel. Freedivers will explore the great African sea forest in Cape Town, while naturalists explain what we are seeing.
Like trees in a forest, these kelp provide food and shelter for many, many species.
Magical encounters with shy marine life, crustaceans, seals, and so much more will all bring a window of calm into an otherwise chaotic world.
Here at the Advanced Rifle Handling Challenge, which is actually lots of challenges in one to gauge the contestants' skills at different distances and different speeds. This is probably the challenge that the contestants are the most nervous about. So let's get them locked and loaded. Are now doing the Hades halt, where they have to run back and forth to a target, turn, take aim, and shoot. And this simulates a chase in a real environment and gets the heart pumping and the blood pressure up. James gave us a demonstration, and the skill involved in this exercise is remarkable.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
The bushwalk feed allows the camera person some creative license. This is my favorite style of shooting. You have to be mentally and physically prepared. You're shooting handheld in some very strange and contorted positions, always with a straight back, often in the squat position, low to the ground. The creativity comes down to the relationship and sync you have with your presenter. The more you understand each other, the more you'll be able to tell the story seamlessly.
Well, we're still with him. By some miracle, we've managed to keep up with this cat through the last hour. I don't really know. I found also the spotted eagle owls, by the way. I've seen where they're nesting now. I can actually see it from here. You see there, Mpo, there's a tree. If you go back from Shasha, there's like a tree that's got like a little bowed branch. It's sitting on that bowed branch there. I don't know if you can see it in the back on the other side of the drainage. Yeah. So you see this big, tall, dark tree?
This one, yeah.
Yeah, and then to the right of that you can see it there. So I'm sure Shasha's just going to move now. He's going to lie down, so that's fine. We can have a look at the owls from here. So they're nesting just down below here. By the looks of it, they flew up from there, and you can kind of see it now perched on the branch. They've been here also, so the entire time I've been at WildEarth, this pair has been in this area, and it's just, we don't talk about them much because it's not an easy area to get to, and we disrupt them because of how steep the banks are. You tend to get a little too close because you can't see them until you ride up against them. And it's not like the Mulawati where you're driving in the riverbed and you can spot them from a little further afield. So it's not, the idea is to not disturb the animals. It's funny enough, it's Shasha that disturbed these ones. That's why we saw them as he walked past, that flew up and off. So nice to kind of see that they're still around, still in the area. They've just moved a little bit further north than normal, and we're where he was lying down, and we're just slightly north of that now. So yeah, it's good that they're still here. Now Shasha's just having a little grooming session. He has stopped, and it's pretty periodic that he's been doing this. You know, he walks a little bit, stops, walks a bit, stops, walks a bit, stops. It's typical leopard behavior, or even lions too do the same thing. But it's typical of a leopard that doesn't know the area well, what he's done today. Lots of weird and wonderful movements and back and forth. You can see he's not very sure of where he's walking. He walks a little bit and then he just sort of looks and hears something and then changes to that. If he knew this area well, he would be sure of the direction that he's traveling when he travels. So firstly, Ray, leopards don't have home ranges, they have territories. The second thing is that it's very dependent on the area that you're in. If we're talking here, very small territories, average female territory is probably at the moment only about 3.5 to 4,000 hectares, 3.5 to 4,000 hectares. Or what's that, 6,000 acres to 8,000 acres, somewhere there, whereas the males have about 6,000 to 9,000 depending on where they are. So it's very, very small territories, and if you compare that to other parts of Africa where there's low leopard density and a lot of low prey animals density and low water density, then like the Kalahari Desert area, then you're looking at some leopard territories there that are over 100,000 hectares. So massive, massive, massive difference between them. And it's just due to prey, water, more than anything else that will allow densities to take place. The Sabi Sands is a perfect storm for leopards. You've got undulating environment with lots of drainage lines and riverbeds, which make for perfect places for den sites. You've got even a few little rocky outcrops. You've got pumped water, which means that there's water all year round, which then attracts huge numbers of prey animals. While this place doesn't look like it has a lot of animals compared to something like the East African migration, I can assure you that there's a lot more animals here than you even realize. Hello, boy. You're coming to say hello. The problem is that, unfortunately, I'm in your way. So you're just going to have to sneak past. Anyway, so there's that, which leads to a huge increase, particularly in this area of impala. Such a cool cat, this. So that's making it a lot easier for leopard populations to grow. When you have big numbers of impala, you have an ability to find water, and you have right environment, thick, dense terrain with lots of riverine systems. It's the perfect storm for high leopard numbers. That's why we have very small territories here. If you go into the desert, you have all the opposite of that, which means very low density of leopard. All right. Shasha, you're being an absolute treat. You're going up into the golden light and you're going away from the drainage line, which makes me happy. It means we can follow him a little bit further and hopefully be able to keep up with him as he goes about his business. It also looks like he's not heading north anymore, but rather straight east. So that should mean that we can have him for a little bit longer. Like I say, the signal drop-off is straight north of us here. It just kind of tails down a little bit. And as that happens, then our masts to the south don't pick us up. So if he goes that way, we're all good. If he goes that way, not so good. Onto the mound. Come on the mound. No, don't be a cloud. There's a cloud there. It's ruining our light, unfortunately. He did go onto the mound like we wanted him to. Come on, sit on the mound for us, boy. Isn't that just the absolute most perfect sight? I think so. A leopard on a mound like this is as good as it gets, except that he's going to lie the wrong way. You know what? We can get you, Paul. We can maybe get the sun lining up with him, sunset and a leopard, which is always a treat. That's a next level special thing. So let's try. The sunset's not wonderful because there's one cloud that's blocking the sunset. Of course, that's always the case. We always get one. Oh, come on. Oh. Rusty. Let's go. You always get one cloud that blocks the sunset when you have these kind of opportunities, but it should drop just under the cloud, and we should get a nice, beautiful sun lined up with him, I'm hoping. Let's see. I think it's going to be pretty spectacular, Paul. Is that good, buddy? Are we happy with that? All right, wonderful. It's not perfect. It's not like the time we had him on Chitwa with that big orange ball of sun behind him, but it will do. I feel like we've done okay with this one. And hopefully that sunshine is going to come out below, and then we'll be able to kind of see him beautifully from there. Isn't that nice? Worth all the difficulties of trying to follow him when he sits like this on such a beautiful little mound, and we get this clear, beautiful view of him. Well, for me anyway. The only thing that will make this better is if that sun comes out just a little bit, because it will flood that whole background with beautiful light. And we'll get the nice soft yellow glow instead of a dark sort of background like we have now. Which way is the cloud moving? The wrong way, unfortunately. Alright, so we're going to sit with the little Shasha and we're going to enjoy him for the next little bit. In the meantime, you can take a look at what you can experience if you come out here and on an expedition, and maybe you'll get lucky and have a sighting like this.
Welcome back on Bushwalk. We're enjoying that last little bit of sunlight, and we can provide the opportunity to quickly answer a few questions and then just sit in peace and quiet and enjoy the rest of the sunset. So one of the questions that was asked was by Fifth Elephant, and that is the coolest of all displays that I know about for birds in this area. And for me, that is the first bird that always comes up to mind is a red-crested koran. And I've noticed over the last few days there's actually a few of the males that are already displaying. And what these birds do is they create areas which is known as a lek, which is a displaying area, then start attracting a number of females. And how they perform is simply by flying up to some 20-25 meters straight up into the air and then dropping straight down towards the ground. And just before they hit the ground, they open their wings and they land in front of the females. Depending on how good this display is and the somersault that they perform in mid-air, that will be used for female to assess if this is a mate that they want or not. So the better you are with it, the better your chances. And we find that males of experience as the ones that always tend to get the females when it comes to elaborate displays, because you need to do some form of practice, and younger males tend to be less successful in general when it comes to these forms of display. Some of the other interesting forms of display is actually in this area is actually by producing nest and a number of the smaller weaver species, and these males have to display by performing in terms of creating a great nest which is suitable for that female to lay an egg inside. When she comes and assesses the quality of the nest, when the male is hanging upside down underneath and laying with his wings fluttering, they will then have a call and they will move on. Once again, younger males, parents don't produce such great males that are well experienced that can produce a quality nest. After that's taken place, the females will then come and lay their eggs inside there and decorate the entrance of those nests. We're just going to sit here a little bit longer and then sit and enjoy our sunset.
We've just stopped to admire the sunset. Sorry, Darby's making me laugh. I don't know why he's laughing, but we are admiring the sunset because, well, we haven't really seen the sun since I've come back to Djuma. It's now day 5. And the sunshine is just something we're not familiar with. I feel like I'm back in Scotland. But anyway, because of that reason, we are just going to sit for a moment and admire it.
The sun came out, he was like, nah, I don't want the sun in my eyes, I'm out. Now he's off. And doing the same thing. But look at how orange this light is, how beautiful it would have been. Oh, little Shasha. Maybe he'll go on to the next one, but the next mound is not so nice in comparison. It's crazy to see both. Made a mess of the local buffalo population out here, especially in a lot of these blocks where we are. Because of them denning here, they caught a lot in this area. I also heard some oxpeckers fly over us, which is generally an indicator that there's some sort of prey animal nearby. So maybe there's some impalas or Ngala, and that's why he got up and he's heading in directly the way the oxpeckers came from. Sorry, Paul. Look at that light on him. Isn't that magnificent? It's almost like a red-orange because of that light. It's very, very special. It's a pity he's not on that mound now, because that light is perfect. We might go up this next one. Like I said, this next mound, it's not nice though. It's not, from a visual perspective, it's not as pretty as the one he was on. Looks like he's going to go though. Let's try and catch up with him. Just going to skirt the edge. Oh, we got lucky with him today. He took us on a but not a bad route. We could have lost him multiple times. Like I said, it wasn't for the fact that we actually know this block. I think it would have been stressful for a lot of people to keep up with him here.
know if I will, because there's a lot of fallen over stuff. Pity the tree that's just in the way of him, unfortunately. Pretty though, nonetheless. I mean, we've still got a bit of a sunset behind him, so I'll take that. And he's posing nicely, which is at least a win for us. I think he's going to lie down right there. I mean, I know it's not absolutely perfectly lined up, but I think it's pretty spectacular. Paul, are we winning there? Mm-hmm. Oh, wonderful. As long as we're winning, bud. It really is a pretty cat, is Shasha. Rosemary, you agree? You say sunset behind Shasha equals a beautiful sighting. I think so too, Rosemary. I think we are winning when we get him like this.
I'm stepping here at First Rock for quick break.
Sounds like also Thandi might have a kill somewhere on Torchwood too. The guy said they got a drag mark, but unfortunately they haven't found it yet. But they don't want to spend too much time there with vehicles because they're worried the hyenas will come in and potentially take it because they can't find it in a tree anywhere. So hopefully that is the case. She'll be around. Just so cool, the sighting. Something about a sunset and a leopard. Just is kind of what dreams are made of for people that like them. I mean, it's not, like I say, the best background or even the best little spot that he's chosen, but it certainly isn't the worst either. I think it's pretty special. You see he's looking up at the drongo. Just pretty boy. So just hear the radios on at the moment. I normally turn it off when we're live, but there's somebody that wants to come and join me. We've been very lucky. We've had him on our own the whole afternoon. No one's really wanted to come because Tavan Gumi's on a kill in Bull's Hook. And the guy's kind of following up on Thandi, so we've been left to our own devices, but somebody is wanting to come now, so I'm just keeping my radio on so that if they get close and they're a little bit unsure that I can just help them as to where to go. This is not an easy area to negotiate, and a lot of the people won't know this well because we don't have a huge amount of sightings here. So just try and kind of help those that we can. Paul, that was nice. Beautiful, my brother. And Paul is happy as well. Thank you, Shasha. He waited just long enough to go down before he decided to move, which is Perfect. Note to self, I must shave. Next to me, I just drove into an acacia and it just spiked my shin. When you pull acacia thorns out of your leg, it's never an ideal thing.
Operating for 27 years, Eco Training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. WildEarth has been working closely with Eco Training to promote the safari guide industry and create awareness for its importance. This is why, for 1 month only, we are offering all WildEarth viewers an opportunity to receive a discount on an Eco Training safari guide course. Contact Eco Training today to find out more, and remember to quote Eco Wild Live to receive your discount.
Our competitors are in the room behind me right now for the birding challenge, where they have to look at pictures and identify the birds and then separately listen to bird calls and identify them. But it's not easy. This is going to be the toughest one. Here we have the previous year's winners. You can see they're trying to see if they can remember all the answers, and look at them taking a sneak peek.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
I love being a cam up for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Sorry about that, everyone. You are back with us. And yet another cat. A tawny cat this time. I don't know. People keep talking about an injured lioness. I have really not been updated on it. But the reason we're giving you a bum shot rather than a face shot at this stage is because you can see something of an injury. I think if you just go more here, this seems to be an old wound. This seems to be a fresh wound. Yeah, that's rather nasty. Don't know what's happened. I think let's try and maybe go around and get her face, or maybe when we put the engine on she might look up. I don't know if it's blue eye. Why did I think she would look up? Oh, hello dear, are you okay? Why are you snoozing on your own like this at Treehouse Dam? Because Blue Eye's missing from what I can tell. I don't know if this is her. Well, she's full though, to be honest. Even if she is injured badly, she's very full. Just trying to think if I can see a way around her to get to her head. Can you see a way around? Oh, it's a bit tough. There's a path, but it's too close to her. I'm not going to drive that close. Actually, there is. This might take a bit of doing, but I need to know who she is. Does look like Blue Eye. Hello, sweetheart. Okay. Yeah, it's quite an extensive injury on her back. It's not small, that's for sure. Okay, I hope I'm going to get this right. It's a long way round, but it should work. The Talamantes are just everywhere. Completely scattered throughout the reserve. Hello. Yeah, looks like Blue Eye. I thought that was you. What happened, girl? So she's one of the 5 adult Kalamati lionesses. Naturally, we have Purple Eye, who's part of the Nkuhumas, and Blue Eye, who's part of the Talamatis. Some of the Talamatis are on Buffelshoek, some of the Talamatis are on Djuma somewhere, and Dark Mane is also on Djuma. So they're completely scattered. Isn't it nice seeing the dam in the background? How many of you have seen this beautiful setting? Pity she's alone. I know, imagine the whole bride was here, all of them. But I would quite like to, I've got quite a while left of drive. It would be interesting to see how mobile she is. But to be honest, a lot of these animals are extremely robust and resilient. Hyenas are definitely one of the most, but lions also have an extremely strong immune system, an extremely strong stomach acid, hydrochloric acid. It's very acidic, low in the pH scale, blasts anything that comes in via the stomach, and their immune system is generally quite robust. They do heal. I'm sure some of you will remember old Nana from the Nkuhumas. She had a really severe injury across her sort of hip, similar area. It was not an attractive sight, and it healed didn't heal well, but it healed and she survived. She's eventually passed, but at that time, the wound, she was absolutely fine. Okay, I'm going to stay a little bit longer with Miss Blue Eye here, and we're going to send you guys over to Tristan and Shasha.
Well, while Lawrence was the Talamati, Shasha's giving us a little show on top of another mound before he gently sort of walks off. He's unfortunately going to go into an area now. It's going to be tricky, but we'll try, as we have the whole afternoon. Seems like he's actually going to stop right there now and have a little sit down. He's been stalking some Franklins down below here that have kind of been giving him a bit of a run around. So, you know, from here it's difficult for us. We can't really move too far, but the road is very close. So even if he starts heading that direction, then, you know, at least we can just park off and hopefully he'll come our way, because I can't follow him further than from where we are right now. There's no way through this little section. I have tried. This particular mound that he's on here was one of Tingana's favorites for a long time. He used to sit on here quite regularly. I'm sure somebody's got lots of screenshots of him on this mound. We also had, I remember having the sighting of the Nkuhuma female with small cubs here once on this particular mound. So there's been a few cool sightings. Tingana was the cat that used to like it. I never saw Hosanna or Tandi on this one, but Tingana regularly, maybe 3 or 4 times. What is out in full force today is mosquitoes. They're absolutely everywhere tonight. They're kind of coming out of the woodwork. So I'm sure it's after this rain. Got a lot of them around. Shasha, what are you watching, boy? Those ears are cute. Brendan, yes, same as the white tip on the ears. You see those ears now, you've got black and white, quite contrasting in colour. So mostly for females, for their cubs, but also when the cubs are with their mom, it serves as a follow signal. So it's an easy identifying feature for the little ones to see each other and their mom when moving around. So you find all animals have some marking from the backside. Especially if they have young and they are in a herd system, then you see it. So, funny enough, the only one that doesn't really have it is Wildebeest, which is weird. Maybe it's because they spend so much time in more open areas that they don't quite need it. Animals that walk through long grass or in thicker areas, they typically need it a little bit more. So you see it on like impalas and bushbuck, Nyala, kudu. They all have waterbuck. They all have these little white undersides of the tail that they'll turn up when they feel like something needs to follow them, or if they're running somewhere, then you see it kind of going up. But yeah, that's the function for that white tip. It also is a signal to other animals that when they've been spotted, to stop shouting at them. So it's a kind of a flag that they're putting up to say, I know you've spotted me, I'm not hunting you, stop shouting at me, leave me alone. So they sometimes lift the tail like that and show that white as much as possible for everyone to know that they know they've been seen and they're actually not in the mood to be hunting them. And so they can all go quiet so they can then slink off and not have that attention on them anymore. Right, well, while he's sitting there, I think it's actually quite a cool time just to show you guys where he's walked today, because I know a lot of you are very interested in the movements of the cats and how they go about things. And we have a bit of light left, so before the light completely drops away, because in infrared this won't work as well. Right, so today he was found over here on this little yellow spot. And then he walked through like this, straight up, and was lost around here. And we searched for him around this area the whole morning. And then walked into him here at camp. and then he walked out. We checked a Gallagher pan. We then found him where it says pan. That's where we found him. He then walked up like this, crossed the drainage line, was going up along this towards the Mvubu Road name. He then crossed this drainage line, then walked between these two drainage lines into this. This is where we had the elephant. Then he walked up. This was the termite mound, next termite mound, and we're on this termite mound right now. So we're right on the fire break here. Very, very, very close. So he's covered a fair bit of Djuma today from sort of the western side up. Now remember where he was when he was born was down here around this area. So Chitwa and southwards into Little Gari and Annette's. And lately he's been seen as far as Susson's Dam. He was on a kill there. He's been seen on Torchwood. He's been seen in Mala Mala. And obviously he must have been in the west because he came out of this side and came up like this. So he's kind of moving. And what's happening is every time he walks these circles or these movements, the loop is getting bigger and bigger. And eventually it will cause the distribution to take effect. But for those of you that are wondering where we were, we're in this block here between these two drainage lines. And we're right on this drainage line again, just way up near the fire break. So lots of moving. It looks so nice on the map. It looks beautiful. It's like nice and green, and as though there's no difficulties in driving around this area, but it's completely the opposite. It's a horrible block, this, and we're lucky it's winter and not summer. If this was midsummer, we would have never been able to follow him. There's just too many stumps. I wouldn't have been able to find the route through to be able to get there. Also, it gets wet, and crossing drainage lines and things like that, if it's wet, is a no-no.
So yeah.
Still just watching and taking it easy.
I'm very close. I'm gonna give you a call. So maybe I'm gonna try to stand by there as I
I'm pretty sure. The problem is if we there we go. I was about to say I'm pretty sure if we move, he's gonna go. I just want to let this other vehicle know to go around a little bit because they're going to be able to get a view where we can't. Because by the time I get around, you know, he'll be pretty much gone. Looks like he's still watching something in there. But there's too many people talking on the radio. People are talking too much. All right, I'm going to try and get around and talk to this vehicle and see if we can figure out a way to get him once more.
Nice.
Thank you. Oh, very good. Any comms there? We are just sitting with our sleepy lioness here. The sun is really starting to sink. It's after 6 here in the Lowveld. And the birds are just going crazy with their calls, getting that last song out before it's too late. So we're just going to sit here and listen. This moment is very precious. Listen to the birds and sit here with our lioness.
we're trying to get around now just to see if we can find where he is. He should come out. So where he was is just straight in front of me. Yeah, coming this direction. So should actually get a spotlight out because it's going to be difficult to spot him now with this light. I'll try and just go in here a little bit. It's been a long time since I've driven here. This used to be in Kahuma territory, this. The last visual I had of him was just straight here, coming this direction. I just want to quickly check. The grass is long here. You can see the buffalo haven't been here much. So he was there. Coming slowly, just so that if he is here, I'm not going to bump into him too quickly. Whew, thick in here. So those big trees to my left is where he was. Hear the square-tailed nightjar behind us calling. Nice. I don't see him anywhere here. It's not to say that he isn't here. Just can't see him for now. This is like the last little hurdle for us. After this, we can't really follow him anyway, so if we lose him here, we lose him here. Let's just try one more area, and I just want to have a little quick look. A bit further to the south, where I am. Try to go back a little bit. Sorry, Paul. Vicky, I don't know if you were watching. I just went through it on the map very, very carefully as to where we are now. So, not really sure if you weren't watching or if it's an older question. But yeah, I literally just went through it. Essentially, we're in the block between Mvubu, shortcut to Galago, shortcut from the fire break, Buffalo's boundary area. Yeah, that's essentially where we're at. There's no ways. That is it for me, I'm afraid. I can't negotiate this any further. Oh, it was right here that he came down. There's the mound is over there. He could just be static like we've been seeing him. He's been lying down every now and then and sitting, so, you know, yeah. If it was daylight, I could maybe wangle through. I can try here. Let's try. Just careful there, Paul. Where are you, boy? No, I mean, there's not much I can do here. We're trying our best, but this is just not funny in here. And also, at the end of the day, it's getting to that point now where we can brake vehicles because it's at dark and I can't see stumps now.
try just a little bit further in. I'm afraid that's not going to be possible. Sorry, Paul, you're going to have to just be careful on your side. That's not ideal. I have a buffalo thorn that has just impaled me. Alright, I'm gonna try and get out of here and detangle my leg from a massive buffalo thorn branch. In the meantime, I'll send you across to Lauren.
We're still sitting at the dam, and she's got her head up. She has just heard, well, we thought we heard a buffalo. Not necessarily the stress, but the, you know what a buffalo sounds like. I didn't need to do that. And that's why she's interested. I'm not going to say she's going to do anything at all. No way. She's injured and she's alone, but she's listening. It's sad to see an animal injured, but I'm intrigued to see how she's walking. I'm sure she'll be absolutely fine, but really, Dark means not far. And he would protect her. Their bond is tight. And technically, if the Talamatis haven't moved from earlier, they're also not too far. But she heard a buffalo. And she'll have a much better understanding of what's going on around her than we do. We're obviously in infrared now because lost too much light. So that's when the humans start to struggle. But not Blue Eye. She absolutely will not struggle. Sarcastic Redbeard, you're saying you love how resilient lions are. Absolutely. All wild animals, actually. I mean, I've told this story many times before, but my very old dog, long ago, was called Pepper. And we made a decision to take off one of her legs. It had cancer when we were getting up. So she was a three-legged dog. And apart from one scream in the middle of the night on that first night, that was it. She never bothered. She never moved. She never was affected by that leg. She just adapted immediately to life on three legs. No real rehabilitation, no real struggle. Adaptation. How are you walking, girl? Are you walking okay? Look at that. Okay, I'm gonna follow, I think, before it gets a little tricky for us to see her. We may lose her. These animals just adapt. Sarcastic Redbeard, though, fabulous name. Us British people, we do love a bit of sarcasm. Doesn't always go down. Sometimes you realise it has maybe not gone down too well. Are you gonna go for a drink, girl? Okay, we're gonna go a long way round. I don't know if she is headed for a drink. But she's gone down to the dam. Cat-filled drive. So he'll be happy. Dark means so I'm happy. No, she's not drinking. Can you get her from here, Dove? Now, if she walks along the road, we'll follow, but I'm not going to bundabash after an injured lioness. But for now, she's just walking along the road. Lions generally like to walk on the road. She's going to go off-road, I think. Chase, you're asking, would the lions leave her behind if the wounds were too serious? Essentially, yes.
Light's not working.
Okay, our IR light's not working. Are you surprised? I am not. And she is going off-road. Let me just get a little bit closer. But essentially, yes, although the pride is everything and the lionesses are everything to each other and they have such tight-knit bonds, at the end of the day, they leave her behind. It's all about survival. Yeah, she's walking off. And if they've got to keep moving, then they've got to keep moving. So they would obviously hope naturally that she would keep up, but essentially, yes, they would leave one behind. I'm not going to follow her through the block. We're now going to have a look at our IR light to see if we can fix it and then decide where we're going to go next.
The WildEarth channel now runs for 24 hours a day and is filled with exciting wildlife experiences for the whole family. In addition to our twice daily live safaris from Africa, we launched Sea Forest. Free divers explore the great African kelp forest under the water in Cape Town, while naturalists on the surface explain what we are seeing in real time. Our Escape to Nature series features exceptional wildlife footage throughout the day, and here you can immerse yourself in the sights and sounds of nature. And finally, we are launching a brand new penguin experience later this month, where you can follow the lives of a group of African penguins daily and in real time. If you want to join in on these experiences, then head over to wildearth.tv/channel to see where you can watch. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
And I turned to Shaw and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. Either she was afraid that something had happened or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kudu, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Sean probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
Goodness, look at its wobbly legs. Oh, I don't believe it. I can't believe we've actually seen it. Oh my goodness. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh no. Oh, it's okay, little one. Okay.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Still bumbling. We haven't, well, not still bumbling. We have just left Shasha, so we haven't been bumbling for long. I couldn't find him again, and this is so thick in there. So we've left that. For now, we're going to just head slowly along and see what we get. I always like checking where I am right now. This is a good little area for barred scops and pearl spotted owlet. They like this little thicket just behind me here. So you find them on these trees sometimes this time of the day, particularly the pearl spotted and the bards. They often are around in crepuscular light, which is what we're in right now. Even though it looks quite dark on your screens, there's still a little bit of ambient light to the west. So you often find owls of that nature out at this time. But yeah, it's been a good, successful afternoon, I would say, all round. Between the lions and Shasha, I think we've done fairly all right. So it's been very much a lion-dominated day. Lots of lion sightings this morning. 5 different sightings running today. There was the Kruger males and the Torchwood females down on Cheetah Plains. There was the Mbali male and 3 Talamatis in northern Buffalo's Hook. We had silver eye, purple eye, whatever you want to call her. Here we go. There's lions right in front of me. Thought they might come out right here. As the pride is just emerging. Yeah, I wonder if they're not going to go down to the dam for a little drink. We'll see. I just want to come back and give them a chance to come into the road. They're just moving on our left-hand side here. But yeah, lots of lions. It's all the Talamati pride basically just split across everywhere. But yeah, it would be nice to count how many are here. I don't know, did we get a count this morning? There should be 7 if the sub-adult male is joined with the sub-adult female. There should be 7 lions now, not 5. But we'll count them. I can see 3 at the moment. It's so dark though for me. This is going to be pretty tricky. I might just pop on my side light just so I can see where they're going. Looks like they're walking back where we just came. Please don't take me back into that block, lions. I'm not ready for it. My shins and my soul are not ready to be put through that again. Come down to the dam and have a drink. That'll be better. For those of you on dam cam, you might be able to pick them up from the camera. I'm not sure if you will. It's a little on the far side. Looks like they're just sniffing about. I'm surprised they haven't gone up towards quarantine. You know, quarantine is normally a place that they head because of the food availability there. There's one that should come out in front of us here, Paul. It's kind of walking, although it's just laid down by the looks of things. What is she doing? Rolling in buffalo dung, maybe. Is it a she or he? So it's where it becomes very tricky for me not to have a monitor, is that I cannot see anything. So I have absolutely no idea what half these animals are doing. I see there's 2, but I can't see what they're doing. Just see movement. Okay, so I've counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so far. Awesome. I don't know, did Lauren have them this afternoon, Jared? I don't know if she did. I know she was looking for them, but I don't know if she found them. But if she did, then I'm sorry to steal her sighting. So no, I don't think Lauren had them this afternoon. Not this group, at least. I know she had Darkman, and I know she had the other Lioness, but I don't think she had the group. She had them this morning. All right, let me just turn around so we can catch them. They should come out onto the road behind me here. Shasha, best you start moving, because you're going to have
the Pride inbound to where you are. It's not far up the road here, or where we left the last sighting of him. It's not far up the road. From off-roading, my light has moved, which isn't great. I just want to at least have enough ambient light to see the road, so I'm just going to drive without the light on for now, in case anything is lurking here. The way that they're walking doesn't seem to be territorial patrol. It's almost like they're walking through the bush on purpose to try and spot things and flush things. It's actually amazing how much you can see when you have the lights off and you just let your eyes try and adjust. Cameron, so there has been the odd translocation of leopards out of the Sabi sands back in the day. Nowadays, I haven't heard of it in many, many years, but there was at one point. There was a couple of leopards that went up into Malawi. There was some that went into a reserve in South Africa, not too far from here. So, yeah, it has happened, but nowadays, because of how well known the cats are here, the guys are very hesitant to do any of that stuff. And we're part of an open system, so it's pretty self-regulating from a sustainability point of view. I'm going to have to use a light to drive in here. I'm not going to use a spotlight, but I need to see where I'm going. I don't really have much of an option, so I'm going to turn on my headlights. I've also lost where the lions have gone now because of it. Last time I saw them, they were walking here. Can't have gone far. So I just want to use a spotlight just to see. They're in front of me. Looks like they stopped. I wonder if they're not hunting something now. If they are, then I'm obviously going to have to go lights down. Looks like they are. And you see them here, Ample? No, they're still here. Just stop and see what they do. Just tell me if they move off. Yeah. Are they still stationary for now? No, two are moving. Okay. Sorry everyone if you hear a little bit of noise, it's just me trying to get these side lights that we use down a little bit so that I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, there we go, now I can actually see what's happening. Unfortunately, I am going to need to use, like I say, my headlights, otherwise I can't drive off-road following them. She is actually. I completely you say you adore the short-tailed lioness. She seems like such a character. She's a character. Actually, all these little sub-adults from the Talamati Pride, I like them. They all got a little bit of spunk to them. They're cool animals. She's somewhere in all of this. Because I've got 4 here. I don't see any male yet. We're at Temple. Alright, so I've got the all clear to go now. There's a tree that was overhanging, so the antenna was just catching on it. There's another one right next to me. Where they're going is not nice. Guys, can't you go back to the road rather, please? It makes my life a lot easier if you're on the road. Also, we'll need to radio this in because somebody was asking about them earlier. Alrighty. So much to do. Our station's located the Talamati Pride. They're mobile north on Mvubu Road from Gari Dam. Well, just off of Mvubu Road from Gari Dam. But general direction is towards the road now. Still there?
Yeah.
Alrighty, I'm going to try and keep up with them through here, use a radio and drive and talk to all of you guys. So if you hear me going quiet a few times, you know why. It's just trying to keep up through this is going to be difficult. We'll try our very best. Right, well, I'm going to try to just get onto the road. Going through this is going to be a near impossibility. So we're going to go to the road. We won't have great visual of them for now, but pretty sure they're going to come out onto Movable Road.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Just coming out onto the road ahead of us, so try and wait for the whole pride to come out before I follow them. Don't see the male though. I wonder where he is. Maybe he's lurking behind us here somewhere. They are mobile north towards Buffelshoek now. Can't grumble too much. We've had them for 3 full days. It's pretty good. There's old Stumpy Tail. I only see 4. 5. So there's only 5 of them here. No young male. There was a young male this morning, I believe, with them. So I don't know where he is. Why he's not with them. Maybe he's just lagging a little bit at the back. Hopefully young Shasha gets out the way of this marauding bunch that's coming down the road. He's not, like I say, from here, not far at all. Driving time probably only about 10-15 minutes. Well, not even, actually 5 minutes up the road. I'm just going to turn my headlights off so that they don't disrupt them. Alright, so we'll keep up with them and let's see where they head. Well, we're still with the pride and still following them. Not really much else to report right now. Still heading north. Just 2, huh? Okay. I'll just turn the side light on so I can see what's going on. I'm hoping the others will come up from the rear. Like I said, I have no idea how many Lauren had this morning, and but I'm sure I saw a screenshot of a young male in there. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe I didn't see that at all. Maybe it was an older screenshot. Alright, seems like they're going. For now. Or if they leave the road, just let me know. Because I can still see the road in the dark. It's lighter than the surrounding bush. But, so I don't need to drive with lights at the moment. I can hear her sneezing. Sorry, girl. So joyful driving like this. So glad we do so long in the dark without a monitor. Yeah, I can see her now, thanks. Nicking over, they go black from wear and tear. The paws underneath are not black. They
are very much like any other dog or cat. If you get them as a pet, paws are little pink paws, and as they get worn, they start to go black and calloused like that. But yeah, initially they're pink. If you see a little baby lion, or you see a little baby leopard, and their moms are carrying them, often their paws are still very pink in coloration. Crazy to think sometimes we drive around so much and we cover all this ground and we look and we look and we look, and like in this evening, lions and leopards within 200 meters, 300 meters of each other now. It's madness. They're still moving, Paul. Just got to be careful here. There's a couple little dips and bumps in the road here. There's a little bump coming up, and Paul, just hold on. What you expect from lions at this time of the night is to be moving like this, and then what they do is they use the roads as like little highways, and then when they hear something they then cut off and start hunting it. So its road gets them to a certain place, and then from there they can hunt. But I know there was lots and lots and lots of Ngala and things around here this afternoon. That's why I'm trying to drive with my lights off as much as possible, because I want to show them to everything that is around. I didn't drive past anything just now when we left Shasha, but you never know. There's maybe a Ngala lurking. This pride will hunt Ngala quite regularly. Kudu, waterbuck, anything like that, and there's often a lot of those in these blocks. Let's just try and give them the best chance that we can. Are they turning left down the next road, or going straight? The road on the left here takes us to Galago Pan. It seems like they're just going straight up towards Tambuti Dam. Oh, little Shasha. Hopefully you're not sitting at the dam, my boy. Otherwise you're about to get a rude awakening. He was in the drainage line off of this road though, so if he's in there he should be fine, but... Alright, we'll just try to keep up with these lines for as long as we can. They're going to, like I say, head into an area the same as Shasha where there's no signal. So while we do that, let's send you across to Lauren.
We're just stuck in a spot of traffic, and the gremlins have been out in full force with us tonight, I'm afraid. But at least we're back out. I'm going to try and go back to the spot where I think Blue Eye is going to pop out. Not 100% sure, but I think she is. I'm going to predict it. I think she's walking to meet the rest. Naturally. I don't quite know what road Tristan has got the Talamatis on, but she's heading in that direction. So we're going to see. But I'm looking forward to your question. Jared hit me. The gremlins have been the gremlins, but as always, we fight them off. In case anybody doesn't know what gremlins means, it means tech problems. We call them the gremlins. Emily, it kind of depends what you mean hunting what. Really, they start eating meat as young, or they can do as young as about sort of 6 to 8 weeks, where they start nibbling, getting the stomachs ready. They're not going to obviously swallow a whole carcass. But because lions are born, or lion cubs are born altricial, the whole point is get them ready, get them as strong, get them to develop as fast as possible so that they can naturally protect themselves. And they sort of will pounce and play. They'll learn on the small stuff first. They'll pounce on dwarf mongoose or maybe even lizards or things on the ground, and that's also hunting in a sense. And it really won't be until after a year that they would start to take down bigger animals. But remember, for leopards and lions it's a little bit different because lions do it cooperatively. Lions absolutely can hunt on their own, but they generally work as a team, which makes it a lot easier to take down big animals. Now, we may have missed her already. I don't see any obvious tracks on the ground. So she's not walked up this road, but I thought she might pop out just up here. I hope she heals old Blue Eye. She's a beautiful, beautiful lioness. Big lioness, really, really big in size. I hope that those injuries heal. And potentially they could, but I don't see really why they would. I've seen a horrendous video on the dark web of females attacking a male lion. He was on the ground and all these females, I think, just eat him alive, which is really horrible. It's very disturbing, but that's obviously slightly different. I think females attacking another female, I don't really see why they would, to be honest. A pride is successful because of all its numbers, because of its females. That will make a pride a pride. So it wouldn't make any sense for females to start attacking one another. Yes, they do fight, they do squabble, but it really wouldn't make sense for them to attack one another and cause injury or even kill each other. In an evolutionary sense, if that makes any sense. I thought she was going to pop out here. We may have missed the boat. Okay, I think I'm actually going to stop here and listen for a little bit. See if we can hear any sounds of our potential lioness.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the Wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
For me, the best part about being a guide is being able to live out in Africa's wild places and being able to share that with people. Of all the challenges, for me, the one that I'm probably the most comfortable with is the game drive. I think that's what I do most days, so that would probably be what I feel like I'd do the best at. Almost like someone's put little Lego blocks up there and made this perfect little sort of statue, and there's another one further along as we drive. One of the challenges I'm the most nervous about would probably be shooting. I think on the day there's always quite a bit of pressure and intimidation, always associated with it, but I guess we'll see how it goes. I hope I'll win this competition, but if I don't, it's still been an experience of a lifetime, and I've learned a lot and met a lot of really, really cool people.
We've seen these ellies really chase wild dogs before. Let's get into spot. There we go, here it comes. Look at that, isn't that amazing?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
Well, we're still following the Pride. They're going northwards. We're going to lose them shortly due to drop off of signal, a little signal black hole that they're going to. So I'm just going to try and get a few last views of them before that happens. Also, we're right in the area where I last saw Shasha. We're exactly where we were off-roading when we lost him. So let's see what happens. Hopefully he's not somewhere where they can see him and they just glide right past and leave him alone. That will be ideal. Don't really want him to be chased by them again. It's happened already once for this poor guy, and we don't need it to happen a second time. But it's part and parcel of life out here. Lions are part of the ecosystem, and a lot of you have asked about leopards and things like that. So one thing I didn't actually think of with Kalamba, and maybe what's creating this situation where she's a little bit more nervy and she's trying to drag kills a lot further, is lions. We've had a big increase in lions on Djuma over the past year. Go back into 2019, late 2018, we hardly saw a lot of lions here. It was few and far between in comparison to now. So the lion pressure might also just be dictating why we're not seeing a huge amount of movement of leopards on Djuma. You know, Torchwood, it doesn't have the same pressure that Djuma has when it comes to lions. You must think that it's not just the Talamatis, it's Darkmane is here a lot these days, which is nice. It's cool to see him, but they will put pressure on leopard or lions. So it's something that they need to be, you know, they have to be aware of. And so you see that they become a little quieter when the lions are in town a lot. And moving around a lot. A lot of their kills get robbed and they get chased and all kinds of things, so they like to lie low a little bit when that happens. But it'll settle down. I mean, it's like anything, you know, it all goes in cycles, and we'll have an increase in lions for a while, then there'll be an increase in leopards for a while, and just the way it is. Anyway, I'm surprised they haven't spotted anything on this road. Like I say, this is normally full up with kudu and waterbuck and nyala along this section. So it intrigues me that they haven't actually cut off. Well, there we go, they're cutting off now, aren't they? Yeah. Hopefully they haven't spotted Shasha yet. In Matthews, I think everyone does enjoy seeing lions marching on the night shift. Certainly is better than seeing the back of my head in the infrared. It's a lot better looking, I would imagine, in many ways. So, yeah, it's cool to see them. It's nice to see active lions, you know. It's part of the reason why being out in the dark sometimes is good. And the problem is when they go off the road, that's when it starts to become a bit hairy. But you see how they're sniffing here. The wind is blowing from this crest downwards. So if Shasha crossed here, and because remember his direction was kind of northeast, he would have come out exactly where we are now. And he's gone into this block. His scent is going to be drifting straight onto these lions' noses. So that's maybe why they've stopped and picked up their noses. It also could be something like a kudu or a wildebeest or a zebra or something like that as well. But hopefully it's not a leopard. It seems like they're losing interest and all piling back onto the road, which is good news. Alrighty, let's try to keep up with them. Alright, when they drop, there's going to be like a little slope here when they drop that slope. is when we're gonna, unfortunately, probably have to leave them. If they cut up on this next road to the right, then we're okay, because then they go high up onto the crest. But if they drop on the slope, it's amazing when you turn these side lights off, it is pitch black out here. Cannot see anything anymore. So I use a side light so I can see back on the road. Little stumpy tail at the back here. Like with us, it's a game of inches, isn't it? So, you know, we're here with the lions now, and half an hour ago it was Shasha that was here. So it just goes to show how it kind of works. Even in the animal world, you know, we talk about it often as guides. We miss things by inches, and it's the same for the animal world. Looks like they're going to turn down the slope, which isn't ideal. Alrighty. From here, we're going to probably have a few issues. It's going to be a little tricky to follow from this direction. Luckily, they've stopped for now, which is good news. Stanley, the older lioness of the group generally is going to be the one that kind of helps them move and go where they need to go. So there's that. But yeah, generally the more experienced lionesses that guide the younger ones, and when she moves, the rest will follow. Unfortunately, I can't follow them any further. We're going to just lose them there, and Wendy's giving issues again. So that's that. We can just watch them turn into the darkness, and then we're going to have to turn around. Otherwise, we're going to not have any feeds available to you guys. But at least we got to see them. It was nice that they were moving along. So let's turn here and then head back the way we came. Maybe we'll bump into the young male on the way back. Apparently he was with them this morning. He's definitely not there now. So let's see. Maybe he's gone to go and join his dad down at that zebra. Just let's let the guys know. Stations leaving the lock of these 5 lionesses. They move on north to Buffelshoek and the drainage line that runs into Tabweti Dam, giving an open lock. Alrighty, so that's done. Let's see, maybe, like I said, maybe the young male pitches up on our way back down this road again. Could be just trailing behind them a little bit. Sometimes that's what happens. Be surprised if he's not with them. That's weird. Normally when they latch onto the pride, they get up with the pride, they walk with the pride. So very odd that he's not with them. This radio is driving me up the wall. Alright, let's hope that this radio now stays. As before, I have a handheld on this car that we use for our comms, and so it often kind of falls off, and that's why if you hear that clanging every now and then, it's the radio, which is not good for the radio or the earpiece cable, is what it is. Okie dokie. Yeah, I think that's all our plans for this afternoon have been met. We've managed to find pretty much everything that we saw this morning, bar Shasha this morning. We managed to get him this afternoon, so fairly successful. After I didn't really know where I'm going to go from here. We'll try this road again. Seems like every time I go down this road we're bumping something, so let's try again. Hopefully the waterbuck made themselves scarce. This pride does very well with waterbuck in this block. I think they've killed 3 now inside here over the past couple of months. And one was with Lauren herself. She managed to actually see the hunt and kill. It's quite crazy. I was back when the pride was all moving together. Now it's just all over the place. It's like a bomb's gone off in that pride. But which is to be expected. There's, new male in the area. Sub-adults that are getting big. What you expect from private lions is to fracture a little bit when that happens. Pretty crazy to think we had both sightings to ourselves pretty much the whole afternoon. Very few places in the Sabi Sands where you can get 5 lionesses and a leopard and no one joins you. There was one car that tried to come to the leopard, but they only arrived as we lost him, so they didn't even see him. We had him pretty much to ourselves the whole afternoon, which is crazy. Yeah, like I say, we can thank Tavan Gumi for that and the drag mark on Torchwood. Kept everybody busy. Definitely no young male following this group, unless he's miles behind them. So we should have bumped into him by now. You know, we were fairly stationary with them, we were walking slowly. So if he was following the girls, he should be with us already. Unless he was hunting something, I don't know why he would be on his own. Again, it's weird. So unless he saw vultures and stuff and wanted to go and join Dark Mane, which is possible. The 2 of them often walk together when they are in the pride. It wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. Today is getting frustrating quickly. There we go. Hopefully it will now stay where it is and will not fall off again. I think it's fallen about 5 times today, which is frustrating because then it changes channel, then you don't notice that it's changing channel. Anyway, I had it the other day as well. It kind of fell down and I picked it up and obviously wasn't careful with how I picked it up and completely turned the sound down. No idea what was going on half the time. And it took me a while to figure it out. I thought I'd just lost comms on the radio. Because sometimes we have places, if it's low down where the comms would break up a little bit. It's just that I was a muppet and it turned the sound down. Alrighty, carry on. Seems like we're going to be live for most of the evening now. Don't know what's happened to Wendy, but it seems like it's just us, so we'll try and see if we can find you guys something else. Oh, I think we're live. I don't know, the radio comm is completely broken up again. Did you hear that before? Let's see. So if the young male that was following, like I said, we should have picked him up. He's not here anyway, so it doesn't seem like he wanted to follow the pride. Well, sorry about that, everybody. I have no idea what's going on, and quite frankly, yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, we're at Gari Dam, and quite pretty actually. There's a few little frog calls, little painted reed frog that's calling at the moment. And this is beautiful with the lights of the lodge kind of reflecting off the water at the moment. I know in infrared it looks very different and it's very grayscaled, and obviously it's black and white. You don't get the same effect, but now it's got these little orange and blue tones of the lights that are shimmering on the water. It's actually very pretty being out here at the moment. And nice just to stop and sit like this and listen for a little bit. It's also good to look up and see a couple stars tonight. I haven't been seeing much of that over the course of the last couple of days, so that's good news too. Hopeful for a sunny start to our day tomorrow. It will be a welcome addition to the landscape. It was so nice to actually have that bit of light this afternoon. It was beautiful. And Shasha was kind of just walking, and then when he went on that mount briefly, it was very, very pretty. The thing is nowadays with the way things are and the way we've had a few sort of drops of rain, dams like this are going to become less important. You can see the Talamati just went straight past it, which means that they've found water somewhere already. They're not interested in drinking here. If it had been prior to the rain, I'm almost guarantee that they would have stopped here. And if it had been a warm day, they would have come to the dam and drank first before they carried on. There's a lot of water now in little puddles in places. It's not going to last long. If we get sunshine for a few days, it will be gone within probably the next 2 days. But it's enough that they're finding water away from big dams like this, and that's why you're not seeing the same congregation of animals around this. If you think prior to the rain, also a lot of elephant herds coming down to the dam the whole day, and that's that heat that was driving them here. Without that heat, you don't see the same drive in animals to find water, and then because there's water more available, there's not the same drive to come to a big dam like this that's open and exposed to come and drink. There's also lots of risks for a lot of antelope and cats drinking from here, because you never know if there's a crocodile in here. So all of those factors play into why the dams will start to get quieter over the summer months from a large mammal point of view. But from a life point of view, the dams become super interesting because you get a lot of frogs, you get a lot of insects, so a lot of dragonfly species that come out, damsels, and that's where it gets very cool to spend time around the dams, particularly at this time of the night. If you came and sat here after a big storm in the summer and after we've had good rains for a while, it would be almost deafening with the sound and the chorus of frogs croaking and carrying on in these little reeded areas along the banks of this dam. So, for now it's fairly quiet, but it will get a lot better as time goes on. As you say, the sounds of the bush are amazing. They are. It's something that I speak about it a lot, but something that I always try and advocate for is to have sound, to kind of appreciate sounds when you're in the bush. I think a lot of people don't, and that's part of it. It creates an atmosphere. One thing that you can never get from even the camera, doing what we do, is we try very hard to paint the picture from a sound and smell point of view, but until you actually hear and those things are added into the visual part of what you see or what you're experiencing, you never quite get that same atmosphere. There's something about being in a sighting where you can smell, hear and see and touch and feel and all of those kinds of things that create the atmosphere that is tenfold what you'll ever be able to experience from a photograph or even a bit of video footage. There's something incredibly special about being out here and the sounds kind of coming through, and then that little feel of the breeze blowing over your face or your arms, and what you're seeing and then what you're smelling. Like now it smells rich and earthy and damp from the rains, so it's got that kind of post-rain smell sitting near the dam here, which is really nice. And then coupled with, like I say, a couple of the insects that are calling and a few nightjars that have been calling around us, and then there's a little breeze that's blowing. So all of that adds to the atmosphere that makes this so very, very special to appreciate at times. I think it's something we should often do more of. It's a big push at the moment. There's a guy that's doing sound safaris. It's actually very, very cool. So what you do is you go and you get a set of headphones. You're in the bush, obviously, and they have field mics. And then you put your headphones on, and you just sit there with your eyes closed for a certain amount of time. And then you basically have a little piece of paper and you just jot down all the things that you can hear. So, it's nice for guides because guides have an ability to recognize a multitude of bird calls, animal calls, all those kinds of things, and they kind of jot everything down. And then the guy himself also sits and listens and records it, and then they go back and they play all the sounds and they kind of pick out everything. And it's amazing how much you miss initially, but the more you concentrate and the more you allow your hearing to take over from your sight, the more you start to pick up and the more sounds that you list. And the number of sounds that you hear is far more than you even realize. When you're sitting here like this, like I've pointed out a few little sounds that we're hearing, but there's actually so much more to it. I'm just rambling and talking, and even if I stopped and you were listening on the camera, you wouldn't pick up everything that's here. So I think there's a big push for those kinds of things. I thoroughly agree with that. As some of the guys that I've spoken to that have driven people that are blind or deaf, they say it's super interesting because they pick up so much more in certain aspects than just the visual side. And their interpretation, particularly blind people, of this environment with sound is unbelievable, and what they can hear and what they perceive from that hearing is super interesting. So it's something that should never really be given up on. I think it's always important just to, take that in as a traveler or as a guide when you're out in the bush. Don't ever underestimate the power of sound. And like I say, taste and feel, when you drive past a sandpaper race and pick the leaf, feel the sandpaperness of it and carry on. All right, we're sitting here. Lauren's across from us on the dam cam because Wendy's failed, so I'll send you across to her.
Indeed, Tristan, Wendy has failed. I am on dam cam and the bright lights are a vehicle. Now, there's really not too much I'm going to be able to find at night time, so I thought it can be more of a discussion, give poor old Tristan a break, and anything you want to ask, fire away, and we can just look at the dam at night. Oh, I think that is Tristan. Hi, Tristan, we can see you on the dam cam. He's probably hungry, poor soul. But yes, we can just have a chat. Hopefully Wendy will be fine and back out for tomorrow morning. I like to be out there. And what a fantastic afternoon for cats all around. Now, I know I said I didn't know what happened to Blue Eye. I really didn't. I've been gone for a long time. Normally I take 2-week breaks. And naturally, this one was a lot longer. But thank you, Riandi, for letting me know. It's very kind of you. And she is absolutely fine. I mean, I'm not a doctor or a vet, but she's walking completely fine. And that's a full tummy she has. So it's probably painful. I'm not saying that, but she is absolutely fine. Nothing to worry about. And it seems like she has been spending most of her time alone. Now, that's also fascinating. Riandi, you're also telling me about 3 weeks ago she killed an impala in the Mangulati. So there you go. She's absolutely fine. She successfully defended it as well. Thank you for the updates. It's interesting she's spending time alone. And if Tristan followed the Calamatis into Torchwood, that means they went east, and she's heading... tricky to say where she's heading, but it's definitely not in a Torchwood direction. It's more in a northwest direction. Naturally, she could change her trajectory at any point, but that was sort of the direction she was heading in. Calamatis everywhere. I was really hoping to get back to Darkmane, but sadly it just didn't work out that way. Wendy had other ideas. Oh, technology, we can't live with it and we can't live without it. I think the world had a meltdown the other day when Instagram, Facebook and WhatsApp went down. It just shows you. I remember the day when we didn't even have a mobile phone. The fifth elephant. I just got that. Jarrett told me the name and I just got it. Nice one, the fifth elephant. That is a really tough question, but I love it. I love it, love it. I'm probably going to have to think about it a little bit. So I actually had this discussion with someone at Marataba about the evolutionary arms race. Now, I'm not saying the theory of evolution. I'm not touching on the theory of evolution. I'm touching on the fact that as dynamic beings, organisms need to constantly adapt to their environment, and environments are always changing. That's what I'm talking about, territories all the time. Nothing is static. Nothing in nature is static. And therefore, beings, any living being, be it a mosquito or an elephant or a tiger or a rhinoceros, need to constantly adapt to those changes, and that's normal. Now, the evolutionary arms race is a fantastic theory, and it sort of builds upon predator versus prey. And it's a very simple explanation, but sometimes the predator will have the upper hand, and sometimes the prey will have the upper hand. And it's a struggle between sort of two competing sets of genes, co-evolving genes, if you like. The predator's trying to get the prey is constantly trying to adapt, to escape. And the polar bear is key. The story of the polar bear is really, really fascinating in that one. It was originally brown. And part of sort of getting the upper hand was to become white and blend into the ice to get the upper hand over the seals who could see them coming. And therefore, in answer to your question, it's a tough one. I'm going to say I think it's going to have to be some sort of adaptation to the crisis we're going through globally. Not just climate change, but also the way that humans are just polluting everything. Rivers, dams, oceans, the air. A lot of wild species have been completely destroyed by humans polluting in some way, shape or form. So I think all organisms across the board are going to have to adapt evolutionary-wise to be able to cope with a really rapidly changing climate that's not natural. I hope that made sense. It's a fantastic question. I'm going to be thinking about this all night now. Thank you so much, the fifth elephant. I love questions that also get me to think. But I think the climate is changing in an unnatural way due to humans across the board. And I think animals are going to have to adapt. Oh, love that. Now, I am not going anywhere naturally. I'm going to sit here on the dam cam.
Guiding as an industry has become over time more and more professional and more recognized as a profession rather than just a hobby. And so to be recognized for that professionality is really kind of it's humbling, really, to be able to say that. It's definitely birding is the thing that I feel most comfortable with in terms of categories that we have here. At least comfortable. I mean, you never know how you're going to shoot on a particular day. You can have a good day where you blast everything as you need to, in terms of the targets, and then you can have a shocker where you just, miss a single shot here or there, and that's basically the end of your day. To be considered for such an experience is really a powerful thing, and so I'm here just to have a lot of fun and experience what the competition's all about.
It just pretended to be dead. Oh, that was amazing. I can't. How do I handle this? That is hands down the coolest.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Well, we're just coming up onto quarantine, no real sign of much else. I also haven't explored very far at all. I feel like we've done well this afternoon, and so kind of kept it fairly local. Most of the sightings we've had have been right at camp, so haven't really had to travel very far today. Although it has been undulating and rough, it hasn't been far. What is this lying here? That's an impala. I'm not going to blind the said impala. I wonder if the wildebeest herd is back or if they decided to go somewhere else. I saw them and the zebra this morning, not too far from quarantine, so I was wondering if they maybe had decided to come back onto the clearing. That's why I've come up here. I thought it would be a nice way to finish with the wildebeest and the zebras. A lot of you like zebras particularly. It's a weird thing out here. It's like whenever people come on safari, big five, zebra, wildebeest, and giraffe. It's like the animals that everyone wants to see. In fact, I think more people want to see giraffe and zebra and hippos than they do wild dogs and cheetah, which is quite interesting. Just goes to show how the effect of an animal looking very exotic and different can make people want to see them. There's a couple of impalas just moving around here. Thought I'd stop quickly just to see them. A couple males. It smells like cow dung. I wonder if the buffalo weren't here that were on the dam camp didn't come across quarantine somewhere. It smells a little bit like them or wildebeest, one of the two. Maybe the wildebeest are somewhere up ahead here. It's that kind of earthy, grassy dung smell in the air tonight. It's also quite damp, so any dung that was here will also be smelling. So maybe that's why. Maybe I drove through some of it. At least it doesn't smell like lion dung. I actually don't find the smell of buffalo and elephants and those kinds of things very offensive. Lions, leopard, hyena, wild dogs, what comes out of their rear ends is generally offensive beyond measure, particularly lions. I thought I heard a lion roaring, but I didn't. Alright, so I'm going to leave these guys. They're going behind a little bush. Maybe a cool thing to finish with would be a honey badger. That'd be cool. So they're not active all night, but they certainly are
we've got to stay sharp because we know that the predators are fairly active. Look at the lions, look at Chacha, all moving around. So if the impalas are too lazy and too kind of sleepy at night, can get themselves into trouble. But if you look at this herd here on the left, I'll try and show you, there's some that are sitting down, some that are standing up. And that's quite typical of impala at night. So there's always individuals that will lie down and that will just to try and rest, but there will be some within the grouping that are going to be standing in the kind of standing guard and watching for any sign of anything, and if they see anything then they snort and the whole herd stands up and looks and is able to then move away. But yeah, they have to be somewhat awake at night, and there's no respite from the constant pressure of predators out here on prey animals. They have to, even in the dark, think about it and be alert to it. Yeah, it's unfortunate that they can't just send a message to the predator and be like, hey guys, the sun's down now. It's like, time out, game's over, we need a rest. Can't be playing tonight. I need to have a nap, I'm tired. It doesn't work that way for them. They've got to always be alert as to what's going on. Nice to see the stars. The clouds are really separating out. I think it's going to be a chilly start to the morning because we haven't had a lot of sun lately, but it should be a nice day tomorrow, all things considered. Although you never know, it's a long night, so it's possible. Can you hear some impala's alarm calling? Hyena calling? Impalas are not alarm calling enough to make it anything serious. They might just see where we are and the sort of light that's on me on and think that we're with a predator here. Sometimes they do shout at us when we sit like this at night, just in case. And I mean, I can go and check. Let's go and just quickly have a quick look just to see if there is anything. But I see some impalas lying down. It's down this side on my right hand side, yeah. Most of the impalas look as though they are very, very relaxed. Oh, they're all lying down here. Let's just go around a little bit. It might be just a little further afield over this crest here, down towards more better access side. It's not a panicked alarm, it's almost just like a and then a wait and then a. So it's almost as though there's something smaller that's moving around. It's this one here, I think, that's calling. See it standing quite alert. But there's a number of them. Yeah, there it is. Let's just check here. Standing very alert and looking this direction. There's some impalas there. I can still hear its alarm calling. See, it's this animal here. What are you alarm calling at? Sometimes they alarm call for pythons, weirdly enough. So if you can't see a predator, that's sometimes what it can be. What do you see? These are all other impalas, you silly sausage. It's definitely this guy here on my left. There's impalas. Hyena calling. Nothing in a tree that I can see. No idea then. Gone quiet now. Definitely alarm calling. Paul, I wasn't going crazy, was I? Paul agrees with me that there was definitely some alarms. But everyone else looks fairly chilled. These guys have all sat down. Maybe it was just, it saw some impalas in the distance and thought maybe because they were lying down that it was a cat in the grass. But there's definitely nothing here. It's so open. We would, if it was any sort of leopard or lion, we would see it very easily. Nope. And then all has gone quiet too, so that tells me that it was just a false alarm. Somebody just got a little bit panicked and thought there was something, but there wasn't actually. Amazing how quiet it goes after they've alarmed a bit. I think everybody just sits up and listens, and all the impalas that were sitting are standing up now. That's maybe why he stopped alarming. Like I say, one of them is stood up and is like, oh wait, that is an impala, not a predator. I need to keep quiet. And the rest of the herd is like, oh, Jim, again, false call. Be thrown out for false accusations. Anyway, it's that time for us to say goodnight. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the afternoon and enjoyed the various sights and sounds from the bush. And thank you for bearing with us through a few little technical glitches. Hopefully we'll iron those out over the course of the next little bit. But from all of us, it's been a pleasure. We look forward to seeing you once again tomorrow morning on our sunrise safari.